What it do, y'all? What it do? It's your guy Bendu, right at you. How y'all feeling today? How y'all feeling? So, I tried to live stream. That's why I was like taking so long. So having issues. I was trying to live stream to my American Autopsy Instagram, but it just wasn't having it. So yeah, that's that. Hmm. I wonder. Hmm. You know what? I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try and stream on Twitter. See what happens with that. Let's try that. Just to see what happens. Should I do Twitter or Facebook? I don't know. I'm gonna flip a flash drive. Mm-mm. Facebook, Twitter. Facebook and ass. I am now streaming on Facebook, I think. Let me check. Make sure. But I'm pretty sure I am live on Facebook right now. Hang on, let me see. Yeah, I'm live on Facebook. Cool. Sweet. Just see what happens. I don't know. We'll try something. Try something new. But how are you guys feeling today? I'm feeling good today. I hope all of you are as well. Sad day today, man. As you guys saw with the thumbnail, Julian Assange, the UK has made their decision to extradite him to the UK. So we're going to be covering that. It's a couple other things that I put in the description that we're actually not going to get to today. So we are doing the Assange stuff. Definitely, you already know. We're doing the United States begs for Venezuelan oil. We're going to be covering that. We're going to hopefully we're going to be joined by HiMedia later on in the stream. Um, you know, with HiMedia, and unfortunately, I wanted to do my class or race panel, but I the guest I had planned to have on ended up not being able to come on today. Just logistical scheduling conflict. So I want to try and push that back probably the next Friday. So we're going to try to do that next Friday, and I might just talk about different things. I might scroll through Twitter or whatever and just see what's on there. I had a couple of things in my bookmarks that I found interesting. I'm like, I could just talk about that. So, but that is the plan. That is the old plan for today. And yeah, so let's go ahead and get into the Assange stuff, man. This is going to be very hard, very annoying to do because they're going after this man for no reason. It's craziness. It's madness, actually. But let's go ahead and get into that. Let's see. Here we go. No, I don't want your dumb stuff. So yeah, this is just a quick article from CNN. Uh, Julian Assange's extradition to U.S. approved by the United Kingdom government, and that was by Priti Patel. I forget what her official title. They're actually about to say it. So the UK Home Secretary Priti Patel has signed an order to extradite WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange to the United States, where he faces espionage charges. Now we're going to get into that, and I have an article from Glenn Greenwald that we're going to read through, so we're going to get into that. His organization said marked a dark day for press freedom. A London court issued a formal extradition order back in April, leaving Patel to rubber stamp his transfer to the U.S. after a year-long battle. The decision will likely see months more of legal wrangling. Jennifer Robinson, Assange's legal counsel, said Friday that an appeal would be brought and that the case could ultimately be taken to the European Court of Human Rights in Strasbourg. Let's hope that is the case. Let's hope that is the case. This is not the end of the road, and we will see every appeal mechanism available to us to prevent this extradition, she told a press conference. In a Friday statement, WikiLeaks asserted that Assange committed no crime and is not a criminal, adding that he is a journalist and publisher who is being pushed for doing his job. This is a dark day for press freedom and British democracy. Anyone who cares about freedom of expression should deeply be ashamed, WikiLeaks added. So that's that. I just wanted to read a little bit of that just so you guys can understand what's going on. Julian Assange certain to die in U.S. custody if extradited. Hang on. Because that almost act dumb. Wow. I just had it up. Sorry about that, guys. Computer's acting dumb sometimes. But yeah, Julian Assange certain to die in U.S. custody if extradited. His wife warns. So his wife is Stella Morris Assange. They actually just recently he was allowed to marry his longtime partner. And while he was in jail, he was literally locked up in Belmarsh prison. Belmarsh is literally like they call it basically the British version of Guantanamo Bay. So Julian Assange, he's not a violent criminal. He's not like they literally put members of like ISIS and Al Qaeda in these prisons. Like this is a hardcore prison. And Julian Assange, he's not a violent criminal. They're literally like he's not a criminal at all. So he shouldn't be in there at all. But the fact that they're putting them in there lets me know and lets the whole world know. Like a lot of people in the journalist world know that they're doing this to send a statement to any journalist who crosses power. So that's what his wife had to say about it. So let's go ahead and get into this Glenn Greenwald article that I think pretty much it sums it up very well. The UK's decision to extradite Assange shows why the US UK's freedom lectures are a farce. The Assange persecution is the greatest threat to Western press freedoms in years. It is also a shining monument to the fraud of American and British self depictions. The 11-year persecution of Julian Assange was extended and escalated on Friday morning. The British Home Secretary Priti Patel approved the U.S.'s extradition request to send Julian Assange to Virginia to stand trial on 18 felony charges under the 1917 Espionage Act and other statutes in connection with the 2010 publication. Now, Glenn's going to get into it, but I'm later in the article, which we're going to read, but I just want to go ahead and say this up front. The fact that they're prosecuting a journalist under the Espionage Act should be anybody who talks about free speech, when it's not in reference to, pink and purple haired college kids running you off campus, or beefing with people on Twitter, beefing with liberals and woke people online and everything like that. Like, this is actually like government repression of freedom of speech, and it's gone from administration to administration. It was under the started with the Obama administration. It started with, then continued on into the Trump administration. Trump actually was the one that indicted him. I covered this on the show previously. Go look through my catalog where I have covered Assange. But the Obama, who was known for prosecuting whistleblowers and going after journalists, he said it was a step too far because it would basically render like Glenn is saying here, the First Amendment a farce, because like you're prosecuting a journalist like that. So them prosecuting Assange for him releasing, so he's not being charged for the DNC leaks that he put out. That's not what he's being charged for. Democrats would like you to think that's what he's being charged for. He's actually being charged for releasing classified military documents that exposed United States war crimes in Afghanistan and Iraq and a couple other places as well. The most popular thing he put out that people know of from those leaks is the collateral murder video where it shows U.S. soldiers in an Apache helicopter killing innocent civilians. Two of them were Reuters journalists too, if I'm not mistaken. They were Reuters journalists that got killed. And then when the medics came to try and help these people, they circled around and did what's called a double tap, and they killed all of the medics in that vehicle as well. And they were laughing about it, calling them all types of epithets and shit like that. So, he exposed shit like that, like brutal war crimes. And for a long time, liberals used to be pretty much pro Assange. It was always like, conservatives and Republicans that were like, fuck Assange, he's a criminal. Like Meghan McCain to this day would probably still call Julian Assange a fucking cyber criminal, whatever the fuck that is. And what's interesting also in this case is that with Assange, it was actually revealed. So the Justice Department, I covered this as well. Go check out my video. Like I said, go check out my catalog. I have, videos on here where I talk about Assange's case. But so they have a witness who allegedly like witnessed Julian Assange hacking, doing basically breaking the law and acquiring these illegal documents or these classified documents in Iceland. So when Iceland had its economic crash, Assange was actually instrumental in revealing how corrupt the banks in Iceland were moving, which led to a lot of the bankers in Iceland getting locked up. Iceland, they actually locked up the bankers that crashed the economy and destroyed people's lives. But they're using this guy. His name is like Siggy the Hacker. I forget what his full name is, like, but that's his nickname. He goes by Siggy the Hacker. Like I said, go back and watch my video about it. But this guy is like a known. He's basically like a con man. He's like a known con man. He's even a pedophile as well. The United States actually blocked him from facing charges for sexual assault and rape of a minor in Iceland. So there goes that. But they offered this guy asylum in exchange for him testifying that he witnessed Julian Assange basically doing illegal hacker shit, to acquire these documents. But then now, Stunden, which is a outlet in Iceland, I believe, a journalistic outlet in Iceland, they actually did an interview with the guy where he said, "Yeah, I made this shit up. It's bullshit. It's a lie. I fabricated and exaggerated a lot of what happened in that, in that whole situation." So the fact that the Justice Department's case is falling apart and the United Kingdom government is still going along with this is bullshit, honestly. So right now they're arguing on the pretenses that Assange, as I showed you, like what his wife said, but that's what his legal team is arguing, that he won't survive in an American prison. There was actually a lower court that blocked the extradition, not because of the merits of him being, whether what he did was illegal or not, acting as a journalist and publisher, but she blocked the extradition on the basis that, hey, this guy is not going to survive. American prisons are so horrible. This guy's not going to survive. So we're not going to send him there. And that's what the judge ruled. And then the United States was allowed to appeal, and it got kicked up to a higher court, which thus resulted in this as we see today. So that was just a quick rundown. I'm pretty sure Glenn is going to cover it here, but it's just, it's insane. So, but continuing, approved the U.S.'s extradition request to send Julian Assange to Virginia to stand trial on 18 felony charges under the 1917 Espionage Act and other statutes in connection with the 2010 publication by WikiLeaks of thousands of documents showing widespread corruption, deceit, and war crimes by American and British authorities, along with their close dictatorial allies in the Middle East that Joe Biden is going to be going to pay a visit to next month to beg for oil, to get on his knees and give the fucking Saudi crown prince to Gok 3000 for some oil. We're actually going to be talking about Saudi Arabia and oil later on in the Venezuela story. Actually, fascinating stuff. I never talked about it. I've talked about it in the channel, but I never presented it. So it's going to be pretty. I think it's going to be, kind of educational for those that don't know, but we'll get into it. This decision is unsurprising. It has been obvious for years that the US and UK are determined to destroy Assange as punishment for his journalism exposing their crimes. Yet it nonetheless further highlights the utter sham of American and British sermons about freedom, democracy, and a free press. So they lambast countries like Iran, Syria, China, Russia, all the time about how they're not democratic and they don't have free speech, but you guys don't have free speech. You're literally persecuting a journalist right now. There's another guy that's in prison, Mumia Abu Jamal. I hope I'm saying his name right. who's also, a political prisoner journalist. And then, they don't talk about Gary Webb, who literally, like, he was the one that revealed that the United States was funneling drugs into black community, drugs and weapons into the black community, specifically, via the Iran Contra scam and all that jazz. And mysteriously, he committed suicide by shooting himself in the head twice. Nobody talks about this guy. They think he's like a conspiracy theorist and all this shit. It's insanity. But that, and then the fact that you have journalists, like Chris Hedges, who got fired from the New York Times for speaking out against the Iraq war, and now he has to write. He has to go work at outlets like RT now. Now they just call him a Russian propagandist. I think his show actually got taken off the air when they basically like censored RT worldwide in the fucking EU and the United States. So, but they persecute journalists here all the time and repress journalists here all the time, except the ones that repeat and parrot their narratives. So the fact that they can go lecture the world about this shit is just utterly, it's hysterical on its face. So, but those performative self-glorifying spectacles are constantly deployed to justify these countries interference and attacks on other nations, and to allow their citizens to feel a sense of superiority about the nature of their governments, i.e. American exceptionalism and whatever, Eurocentric, whatever Europe calls their bullshit. After all, if the US and UK stand for freedom and against tyranny, who could possibly oppose their wars and interventions in the name of advancing such lofty goals and noble values? Having reported on Assange case for years on countless occasions, I've laid out, like I just did, the detailed background that led Assange in the U.S. to this point. There is thus no need to recount all of that again. And he just he cites things that you can read and everything. But in 2012, Ecuador granted Assange legal asylum from political persecution, and they did a Benedict Cumberbatch, I think it was called like The Fifth Estate or something. He portrayed Assange, and everything like that. I've never seen the movie, I've heard some of the things in the story is bullshit and things like that. I think Daniel Brühl was in it as well. I've heard Hollywood is bullshit. So I've heard the movie was bullshit. I've never seen it, but if you've seen the movie, you should kind of know the story, even though it's probably through a fucking bullshit mainstream, like a certain perspective, as Obi-Wan Kenobi would say. But it did so after the Swedish government refused to pledge that it would not exploit the WikiLeaks founders travel to Sweden to answer sex assault accusations as a pretext to turn them over to the U.S., fearing what, of course, ended up happening, that the U.S. was determined to do everything possible to drag Assange back to the United States soil, despite his not being a U.S. citizen and never having spent more than a few days on U.S. soil, and intending to pressure their longtime submissive Swedish allies to turn him over once he was on Swedish soil. The government of Ecuadorian President Rafael Carrera concluded Assange's core civic rights were being denied and thus gave him refuge in a tiny Ecuadorian embassy in London. The classic reason political asylum exists. So it's very interesting. So he had like a sex assault case that, it was bullshit. It was made up. It was basically, like he described here, used as a ploy to get him on the Swedish soil so the United States could then step in and extradite him. And that's why he didn't go. And that's why he went to Ecuador and all that jazz. So, it's nothing but complete bullshit. They're trying to draw this guy in for, let's say, hypothetically, even if he was guilty of this, of the sex crimes that they're accusing him of, like, these motherfuckers let Jeffrey Epstein walk for decades with all the bullshit that he was doing. And they're like, but the media, they let him, for decades do his thing, never reported on. They actually had stories on Epstein that they purposely buried because of Epstein's connections to powerful, political figures, media figures, and other wealthy people and shit like that. So, even with that hypothetical, because it's been proven that he didn't do what they were accusing him of. It was used as a ploy to get him to go to Sweden, as they admitted, so they could extradite him. Now, this is interesting. Here we get, and this is where I say it's gone from administration to administration to administration. When Trump officials led by CIA Director Mike Pompeo bullied Carrera's meek successor, ex-president Lenin Moreno, to withdraw that asylum in 2019, the London police entered the embassy, arrested Assange, and put him on a high-security Belmarsh prison which the BBC in 2004 dubbed the British Guantanamo, where he has remained ever since, and his health has been deteriorating, all types of crazy, horrible shit. Like his health, like literally when you see pictures of him, the very few pictures that you can get, like you could clearly tell his health is deteriorating. Being in this prison, and he has Asperger's as well and other mental health conditions from living in a tiny room for like 7-8 years. So for the lowest level British court, in early 2021 rejected the U.S. extradition request on the ground that Assange's physical health and mental health cannot endorse. So that's what I was talking about. Assange has lost every subsequent appeal. Last year, he was permitted to marry his longtime girlfriend Stella Morris, as I said, who was also the mother of their 2 young children. An extremely unusual unanimity. I hope I pronounced that right. Glenn always uses these big ass fucking words, even when he's talking. So I'm like, dude, come on. But among press freedom and civil liberties groups was formed in early 2021 to urge the Biden administration to cease its prosecution of Assange. But Biden officials, despite spending the Trump years masquerading as press freedom advocates, they really weren't, ignored them. An interview conducted last week with Stella Morris by my husband, the Brazilian Congressman David Miranda on Brazil's, and the guy who's writing this article, Glenn Greenwald, look into his work. He was the guy that worked with Edward Snowden. They worked together to expose the leaks with like two other journalists, I believe, as well. One was a videographer, and another guy was a journalist for The Guardian, I believe. Or another outlet, because Glenn was at The Guardian at that time. I forget what outlet the other guy was in, but watch the Citizen 4 documentary as well. It gives you a clear insight into what was going on at the time. Glenn is one of the, along with Assange, one of the greatest journalists of our generation. So, they try to lampoon him now because he spends his time now calling out, rightfully so, the hypocrisy of liberals and Democrats, because liberals and Democrats have now become the Republican Party of old, which, newsflash, they've always been that. But they don't, like, a lot of like lefties, people that call themselves lefties and progressives don't like him no more because he calls out liberals bullshit and the Democratic Party's bullshit. But he's one of the greatest journalists of our generation. The Home Secretary's decision this morning, characteristically subservient and obedient of the British when it comes to the demands of the U.S. And like I said, I literally, like, Britain is like our little bitch now at this point. It's like mini America. You feel me? Like even though they came before, it's like we birthed y'all niggas. Like, oh God, like when we tell them to do something, they say how high. They're our little poodle. Europe is all of our little poodles. The only ones that kind of buck a little bit is France, a little bit, but not too much. But all in all, Europe is our little bitches. They're our little satellite states, to fuck with countries like Russia and China and shit, and other countries we don't like. So, but does not mean that Assange's presence on U.S. soil is imminent. Under British law, Assange has the right to pursue a series of appeals contesting the Home Secretary's decision, and will likely do so, as it said in that CNN article. Given that the British judiciary has more or less announced in advance their determination to follow the orders of their American masters, it is difficult to see how these further proceedings will have any effect other than to delay the inevitable. But putting oneself in Assange's position, it's easy to see why he is eager to avoid extradition to the U.S. for as long as possible. And this is where he goes into the history of the Espionage Act. The Espionage Act of 1917 is a nasty and repressive piece of legislation. It was designed by Woodrow Wilson and his band of authoritarian progressives to criminalize dissent against Wilson's decision to involve the U.S. in World War I. It was used primarily to imprison anti-war leftists such as Eugene Debs, as well as anti-war religious leaders such as Joseph Franklin Rutherford, for the crime of publishing a book condemning Wilson's foreign policy. Now, I never heard of that second guy. I'm actually going to look into him. But Eugene Debs is somebody I've heard about. He was a very big influence, a very big figure in the socialist and communist movements. And in this era, like the early 20th century and things like that. And they actually arrested him after he gave a speech condemning our involvement in World War I, because he was an anti-war figure. So very fascinating stuff. But you see how they're using it now, and he's about to describe it right here. And I've talked about this before on my channel about how Obama was hostile to journalism and people that were leaking information, about what the government was doing, hostile to these people, whistleblowers. They talk about how they want to protect whistleblowers now. Obama was hawkish towards them, as he's about to describe. One of the most insidious, despotic innovations of the Obama administration was to repurpose and revitalize the Wilson-era Espionage Act, as well as an all-purpose weapon to punish whistleblowers who denounced Obama's policies. The Obama Justice Department, under Attorney General Eric Holder, prosecuted more whistleblowers under the Espionage Act of 1917 than all previous administrations combined. In fact, 3 times as many as all presidents combined. One whistleblower charged by Obama officials under that law is NSA whistleblower Edward Snowden, who in 2013 revealed mass domestic spying of precisely the kind that Obama's director of national intelligence, James Clapper, who now works on CNN. So you see how the news is propaganda. So this guy James Clapper famously lied in front of Congress about whether the United States was illegally spying and warrantlessly spying on American citizens. And like he literally said, no, not to our knowledge. And the guy, the senator, I believe, who asked him the question was like, wait, what? Like, nigga, we know you are. Like, would you like to try again? He looked at her like, would you like to try again, sir? And he lied again. So now this guy, who was the head, the director of national intelligence, now works at CNN. And he's one of the guys telling you why NATO needs to take on Russia right now. So you see how propagandistic your fucking media is? You can't believe a fucking word they say. Falsely denied conducting when testifying to the Senate, which led to legislative curbs enacted by the U.S. Congress, which courts have ruled unconstitutional and illegal. So the basis on which they went after Snowden has been ruled that he was in the right. But unfortunately, since they charged him with the Espionage Act, you literally can't make a defense. So he's actually about to explain this here. What makes this law so insidious is that by design, it is almost impossible for the government to lose. As I detailed in a Washington Post op-ed, when the indictment was first revealed, arguing why it poses the greatest threat to press freedoms in the West in years, this 1917 law is written as a strict liability statute, meaning that the defendant is not only guilty as soon as there is proof that they disclose classified information without authorization, but they are also barred from raising a justification defense, meaning they can't even argue to the jury of their peers that it was not only permissible but morally necessary to disclose that information because of the serious wrongdoing and criminality it revealed on the part of the nation's most powerful political officials. Now, one of the things they like to say about Assange is that, well, his work has led to people, whether it's agents, soldiers, whatever, getting killed. Bullshit. Has been a lie. Like the government itself, the military itself, our intelligence communities have admitted that that's bullshit. And also the process on which WikiLeaks goes through to make sure they redact names to protect people. Like they would offer to work with the CIA, and the CIA would tell them to fuck off because like they're about to expose them. So they're not going to, work with the niggas. They're not going to help WikiLeaks expose them. So there was actually one instance though, where there was a Washington Post reporter, I believe. He wrote a book about, working with WikiLeaks, and he actually revealed, redacted information. A Washington Post journalist did. But continuing, that 1917 law, in other words, is written to offer only show trials, but not an actual fair trial. No person in her right mind would willingly submit to persecution and life imprisonment in the harshest American penitentiaries under an indictment brought under this fundamentally corrupted law. Whatever else one might think of Assange, there's simply no question that he is one of the most consequential, pioneering, and accomplished journalists of our time. One can easily make the case that he occupies the top spot by himself. And that, of course, is precisely why he is in prison, because just like free speech, free press guarantees in the US and UK exist only on a piece of parchment and in theory. Citizens are free to do journalism as long as it does not disturb or anger or impede real power centers. Employees of the Washington Post and CNN are free to say what they want as long as what they are saying is approved and directed by the CIA or content of their reporting advances the interest of the Pentagon's sprawling war machine. And you see that going on literally right now. Like before this whole war in Ukraine broke out, there was a point where Biden went to he had that summit with Putin, And like they were like literally pushing this guy, like, were you aggressive with him? Did you tell him he can't da da da? Like basically saying, did you bucket this nigga? And Biden's like, yo, chill. Like even Biden he started snapping on reporters because they were like, yo, you're tripping, basically. Now, that's not me saying Biden is an anti-war person, because look at what he's doing right now. He just sent Ukraine $50 billion fucking dollars. And now I was actually just reading a story earlier about how like the Ukrainians are selling our weapons on the dark web to make money off them shits. And now he's trying to propose a bill. I think it actually went through to send them $1.5 billion like a day or a week or some shit like that. It's utter fucking lunacy and insanity. While you literally have people here sleeping under bridges, you have children going hungry at night, all types of crazy shit going on. It's fucking insanity. But real journalists often face threats of persecution, imprisonment, or even murder, and sometimes even mean tweets. He's making fun of Taylor Lorenz of the Washington Post with that one. But much of the American corporate media class has ignored Assange's persecution or even cheered it, precisely because he shames them, serving as a vivid mirror to show them what real journalism is and how they were completely bereft of it. And the American and British governments have successfully exploited the petty jealousies and insecurities of their failed, vapid, and pointless media servants to get away with imposing the single greatest threat to press freedom in the West without much protest at all. Free speech and press freedoms do not exist in reality in the U.S. or the U.K. They are merely rhetorical instruments to propagandize their domestic population and justify and ennoble the various wars and other forms of subversion they constantly wage in other countries in the name of upholding values they themselves do not support. The Julian Assange persecution is a great personal tragedy, a political travesty, and a grave danger to basic freedoms, but it is also a bright and enduring monument to the fraud and deceit that lies at the heart of these two governments' depictions of who and what they are. So very, very good article by Glenn Greenwald. I thought it was very good. And, you know, like I said, man, like the way they're going after this guy, it lets you know that he struck a nerve. He struck a chord, and they're pissed off about it. They hate it. They seethe at it. And that's why they get their little media poodles to go out. That's why they throw, oh, he stopped Queen Hillary from becoming Queen of America. Like they throw that shit out as liberal claptrap bullshit. And like I said, most Americans don't even know who the guy is. They don't even know who the guy is. So, you know, all in all, man, free Assange, dog. My man should not be sitting in prison for revealing war crimes. Free all the political prisoners, or political prisoners. Free all the journalists in jail sitting right now. Free all the niggas. Free Assange, man. It's utter insanity and lunacy. But yeah. So let me actually take a break real quick. I'm gonna go get me a drink. I know I was drinking a beer the whole time, but I need actual like water. So let me go get that, guys, and I will be back. Yo, I'm back. I am back. I told you I'll be back. So we're going to go ahead and move into our next story, which is this Venezuela story. So let me go ahead and get the stories queued up. All right, I think I'm ready. So actually, no, I'm not ready. I have to open the article. You have to open the article, stupid. Pull the lever, crunk. Yo, Emperor's New Groove was really that shit. I love that movie when I was a kid, bro. I was a young boy. I love that shit. Right. So here we go. So as y'all know, because let me exit out of it. Let me go here first. So because of Joe Biden's failed economic war on Russia that I covered last night, talked about it in regards to him visiting Saudi Arabia, but earlier, I think like last month sometime, um, a U.S. envoy actually went to Venezuela to go beg Maduro for oil, and I'm going to get into all of the history with the sanctions of Venezuela, but they offered to lift sanctions and all type of manners. I actually think they did lift some of the sanctions because they're allowing, notice the terminology, they're allowing Venezuela to ship oil over to Europe. They're allowing them to now. You see how that works? The rules based order, as United States likes to call it. But yeah, they're on their knees begging everybody that they call, a despotic, everybody they call a regime. They're going to beg them for fucking oil because Biden's economic war has failed. But it's also interesting because in the article I'm going to show you guys later, they talk about how they did this, against Venezuela. It just so happened that, well, not even just so happened, the fact of the matter is that Russia's not Venezuela. And there's no disrespect to Venezuela, but Russia is one of the three superpowers in the world, which is the United States, China, and Russia. The other two, the other two are China and the United States, but to make the three, it's the United States, China, and Russia. And historically, China and Russia, usually didn't fuck with each other, especially during like the Soviet era and things like that. You had the cult of personality with Stalin and Mao, so they was kind of beef and they didn't really fuck with each other. They disagreed on how to go forth with communism and all. It's a whole nother story. But historically they've had beefs and shit like that. But now, because of how the United States has been, how they've been operating in the unipolar world that existed post the fall of the Soviet Union, the United States has pushed them together and is now moving the world towards a or a multipolar world. So unipolarism is, one dominant superpower running shit in the world, and obviously, multipolar is multiple countries running shit, and that is what we're moving towards. We were moving towards it slowly, but now because of the whole Ukraine situation, we're moving at it at hyper speeds. It's funny to see. It's like literally you thought you were going to smack Russia, but you ended up smacking yourself. Congratulations, you played yourself. But um, but yeah, very fascinating stuff, man. But let's go ahead and get into this article. I got it opened up. Let's go ahead and get into it. So, as I said, they were going out begging people for oil. U.S. reaches out to Venezuela amid possible Russia oil embargo, which they're now doing. This is from earlier. The impetus for a risky outreach to Maduro took on added urgency following Russia's invasion of Ukraine, ensuing U.S. sanctions and a possible ban on Russian oil and gas. And as I said, that actually came into fruition. And like I said, it's very fascinating that they recognize they reach out to the actual president. So we're going to get to this later, but for the last like 5 years, 4 or 5 years, since 2017, basically, they've been recognizing this guy, Juan Guaido, who nobody in Venezuela knew of prior to this. Like, they were recognizing him as the actual president of the United States because of some bullshit legality stuff that, Guaido and his people were pulled out their ass. They were making this argument that he's the rightful president of Venezuela and shit like that. It's insanity, but the United States is recognized him. So imagine if Venezuela didn't recognize Joe Biden as president. Like, and they were just moving accordingly. Or imagine China or Russia were doing that. They're like, nope, Joe Biden is not the president. The Rock is. We recognize Dwayne Johnson as president. Like, how fucking insane would that be? Like, the United States wouldn't tolerate that shit, right? It's basically what they're doing in Venezuela. And they do the same thing in these other countries as well. Like, they like to say Syria's elections are rigged. They don't recognize it. Same thing with Iran. These places don't have democracies, blah blah blah. And it's very interesting because Caleb Maupin did this video that I might actually talk about. I'm trying to find a way to break it down and not make it long. I might do a stream where it's just about that video where we watch it together and I just give my thoughts and opinions on it. But one of the things he talked about was how they say that places and he used Iran, for example, how they have like a what is it called, a council of like religious people that basically decide who can and can't run, and they say that that's an undemocratic process. Okay, fine, you can say that, you can make that argument. But Caleb's argument was that the United States has the same thing, but the only difference is it's not the religious leaders and clerics in the country that decides it. It's the fucking banks and corporations that decide. Like, people people either don't know or forget that Kamala Harris went up to the Hamptons, to swoon all the donor class, on the Democratic side of the party, to basically put all their weight behind her. But unfortunately, they did not account for how unpopular Shorty would be, and the fact that Tulsi Gabbard would yeet her out of here. Tulsi Gabbard, of all people, Tulsi Gabbard got more votes than Kamala Harris. Just think about that. And there's things I like about Tulsi now, but give Tulsi her credit, man. She got Kamala the fuck out of here. It was beautiful to watch it. But yeah. So, and Caleb makes the point that, they like to call, all like Iran, undemocratic for that reason, where it's like, at least their government actually tries to act on behalf of their people. Our government is literally, our leaders are picked by banks and corporations and the wealthy. That's just the fact of the matter. So very fascinating, when it comes down to that, to Venezuela. But like I said, like the fact that now, like, you sure you don't want to go talk to Juan Guaido about that oil, huh? You sure you don't want to go talk to that guy? Yeah, that's what I thought. So, but amidst all this, and this is where I say, Biden is going full Romney. you never go full Romney. Yeah. Remember that? Remember Tropic Thunder? He was like, never go full retard. You never go full Romney. Oh, bro, can't make up his fucking mind. I call it the Romney effect, like I said. So, U.S. bars Cuba. So this is at the summit of the Americas. I did a stream about that as well. Biden basically banned Nicaragua, Cuba, Venezuela, from coming. And in retaliation to that, a lot of countries didn't show. I think it was Honduras, Guatemala, and Mexico, and like another country. I think I'm drawing a blank on it, but other countries didn't show up as a form of protest or retaliation, and solidarity with their fellow American countries. And but yeah, so U.S. bars Cuba. This is from Reuters, written by Matt Spitalnik and Dave Graham. U.S. bars Cuba, Venezuela from America's summit. Mexican leaders sit out. Decision to cut out Cuba, Venezuela, and Nicaragua followed weeks of intense deliberations and was due to concerns about human rights and a lack of democracy in the three nations, a senior official said, as Joe Biden is about to go give Saudi Arabia the Gok 3000 for oil. Wow. United States Department spokesperson Ned Price. This is the guy that got sauced by that one journalist when they were talking about Russia invading Ukraine. Now, one of the things they talk about that as well, I want to bring that up. One of the things they don't talk about on there is the fact that, they kept saying, like, the United States kept saying for weeks, Russia's going to invade Ukraine. Like, weeks kept going by, and Russia didn't invade Ukraine. But it got to the point, and Russia wasn't planning on doing so, but Ukraine started staging an offensive in the Donetsk republics, once again violating the Minsk II agreements. And Russia was like, all right, fuck it, man. Nah, fuck that. If y'all not going to abide by the agreements that we made, fuck it. We're not going to abide by that shit. And that's when they went into Ukraine. Nobody ever talks about that, though. They never talk about the fact that the Azov battalions and the other Nazi regiments, the other Nazi-led regiments, were about to do another incursion, another shelling campaign into the Donetsk regions or the Donbass regions. Nobody talks about that shit. But regardless, but Ned Price, he got sauced by a journalist. I forgot where I think the journalist was from the Associated Press. press. Now, this same journalist has like sauced this motherfucker like 3 or 4 times. Like, bro, like you can't just come up here and say shit. So basically, like he was like, Ned Price's whole thing was Russia's going to invade Ukraine because we said so, and like the journalist is like, bro, that's not evidence. Like you can't just come up here and say, trust me, bro. Like, nah, you gotta say something. And it turns out that they actually didn't have evidence. They were actually creating the evidence. So that's why they didn't have it at the time, because they were telling their little stooges in Ukraine, hey, doing an incursion into the Donbass regions to egg Russia on, because they knew what the reaction was going to be. Like I said, go read the Niet means net memo from William Burns, and that will describe exactly what you saw go down with that conflict. But yeah, so US that's Ned Price, who got sauced by a journalist. He was just floundering up there on the podium. It was fucking hilarious to see, like arguing back and forth with the guy. It was fucking hilarious. It was beautiful. But US State Department spokesperson Ned Price said the Biden administration understands Mexico's position, but one of the key elements of this summit is democratic governance. And these countries are not exemplars, to put it mildly. Democratic governments. Goldman Sachs, has never lost a fucking election. And you guys want to talk about democratic governance. Like literally, there's like multiple studies out there that effectively say the United States is a fucking oligarchy. It does not represent the people. Last time I checked, democracy was representing the people. And then you'll have the other people say, oh, well, this is a republic. All right, fine. Either way, it's fuck the people. And enrich Goldman Sachs and Raytheon and all of the the whole oil cartel and banking cartels. That's what it is. Again, they gave the richest people in the country $14 trillion and gave you a fuck you $2,000 check, and now are circling around trying to blame that as the reason why we're experiencing inflation. And there's Americans that buy it. It's so funny. I know this has nothing to do with that, but that was just on my mind. So funny how they can convince Americans of anything with their pseudo economics. It amazes me every day. Biden aides have been mindful of pressure from Republicans and some fellow Democrats against appearing soft on America's 3 main leftist antagonists in Latin America. Miami's large Cuban American community, which favored Trump's harsh policies toward Cuba and Venezuela, is seen as an important voting bloc in Florida that you're not going to get in the November elections. That will decide control of the U.S. Congress, which is now in the hands of the Democrats. Again, they're not going to do shit for these people aren't going to vote for you. It's not going to happen. And you're they're not basing it because of those people. They're basing it because it serves the interest of the ruling class, the people who bought Joe Biden, the people who have their hand up Joe Biden's ass and is doing this. Those are the people that are making these decisions for monetary reasons, of course, for imperialist reasons. They like to call Russia imperialist, but that's bullshit. United States is the OG of imperialism, bro. Okay, so it's hilarious to see like Democrats are aligning with war hawk Republicans. That's literally what they just said in this article where Reuters just said. That's literally what they just said. It's so crazy, and it's like, like I said, these Cubans, I'm sure some of these people have stories and you feel bad for them and things like that. But I don't know if I can feel sympathy for you if you're in favor of starving your own people. Like you're in favor of sanctions that hurt and starve your fucking people. It's fucking like that. I don't see that as, a thing. My dog is barking right now. Yeah, but yeah, it's very like it's crazy. There was even like the Miami the Miami mayor like was literally saying we should bomb Cuba. We should do missile strikes in Cuba. Fucking insanity. But yeah, so Democrats agree with Congress on imperialism. Who would have known? Having rolled out Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, the Biden administration expects representatives for opposition leader Juan Guaido will attend. He actually didn't. I'm going to get into that. Price said he declined to say whether their participation will be in person or virtually. the senior administration official asked whether Biden might have a call with Guaido during the summit, said there was a good chance of an engagement, but declined to elaborate. Washington recognizes Guaido as Venezuela's legitimate president, having condemned Maduro's 2018 re-election as a sham, but some countries in the region have stuck with Maduro. Now, the crazy part about that is that they literally, so Venezuela had their elections, right? And in order for the opposition, because they did the same thing in the previous election, they basically sound like a lot of the Trump people. The election was stolen, all that bullshit. But um, they tried to be more inclusive. Hey, how about you guys? Come to political debate thing, because they have like basically what we call town halls, where people of all political walks and stripes come and air their grievances with the president. Literally, like I've seen video footage of it where people that don't fuck with the president go and air their grievances. And it's like, they decided not to do that because they think he's a sham. He's not the real president, and they didn't partake in it. And they lost because they told their people not to go. It's like I said, it's very similar to what Trump did. Like, I've seen evidence presented by people. I'm not going to say it exactly because they'll yank this stream off of YouTube, but you know what I'm saying. Evidence of shenanigans and what. But like overall, like there are a lot of other factors that contributed to Trump losing as well. Things he did while in office, politically, and also like the fact that he was telling his people not to vote, not to do the mail-in voting. So. And like with the mail-in voting stuff, I'm more like, all right, we were going through a pandemic, this, that, and the third. Although I think a lot of the things with what was bullshit with the pandemic was bullshit, but people were afraid to go out and vote. So what do you do in that situation? You should do mail-in voting, but instead of trying to get rid of mail-in voting, how about we like make mail-in voting more secure? Like in a lot of these Latin American countries, you literally have to like show your fingerprint. Why don't you have like officials go out to people to cast their votes? Proper officials. There's so many things that we could be talking about, but people just want to have these arbitrary arguments that go nowhere, and debates and everything that don't offer any real solutions. So nothing ever changes here in the United States on both sides. Both sides they don't want the system to change because like there's no voting here in America. You're not going to beat Goldman Sachs. It doesn't matter if you vote for Trump or Biden. You're not beating Goldman Sachs. You're not beating Raytheon. That's just a fact of the matter. They've never lost an election. Sorry to break that to you if you didn't know that. Sorry to tell you that. But yeah, so they tried to, be more inclusive with the elections, and they literally told their people not to go vote. Literally. And then he walks out and declares himself as president because he said it was a sham. It's like complete bullshit. But and the fact that they did that, and you still have people saying certain Maduro's not the legit president. It's like, just fuck off, man, fuck off. But we're going to get back into Guaido in a minute, but this is what Blinky Anthony with Tony Blinken had to say about it, and this is what he had to say. And now this is from the Los Angeles Times. But the notions that some countries are not here, I would dispute. They're not here. Blinken said, noting that dissidents, artists, and members of civil, notice how he puts in there, members of civil society. So, like, the millions of people who voted for Maduro aren't civil people. And no, there's people that back Maduro that don't, like, they have issues with his governance, but they see, like, how the United States is interfering in their internal affairs, and they're like, fuck that, I'm going to stand behind this nigga because fuck the United States. You see the same effect in Syria, and they like you have even independent media, which TYT isn't really independent media, but other independent outlets that say, oh, this election was a sham with Assad and things like that, and with Maduro. When you do these things in these countries, you like rally around, like people rally around their country. People are in other countries, people are very patriotic. I know here in America, the Western left has made patriotism and things like that, and they've turned it into a dirty word, but they don't acknowledge how in a lot of these communist and socialist countries, and I say this all the time, a lot of these most Western leftists, like, they only want socialism in their mind, and they only want communism and Marxism in their mind. They don't actually adhere to the concept of materialism that is the backbone, dialectical materialism that is the backbone of Marxist, socialist, and communist ideology. But like, They basically only see it in their minds and shit like that. Like it's like an identity politics utopia and shit like that, where gay, trans people and black people can all hold hands and sing kumbaya, and we could, you know, cancel out of existence the dirty, evil, racist, conservatives and things like that, not realizing that a lot of the people like black people are actually very conservative. But regardless, like they only want socialism in their minds. They don't actually when it's like they condemn and shit on countries that are actually actively doing it and have had successes until American imperialism interfered and sabotage interfered. And it's like a lot of these people in these countries are very patriotic. They're very, nationalistic, not in a bad way. They're very religious, deeply religious, like, and nobody talks about this. It's crazy. But yeah, so notice how he says civil society as if like Venezuelans, like Maduro is in civil, and people who support Maduro. Like you're literally saying millions of people aren't still like civil. And it's a race aspect that goes into Venezuela as well. A lot of the people that support Maduro are the darker skinned Venezuelans. And it's literally Juan Guaido represents the more fairer skinned Venezuelans and shit like that. It's a race element that's going on there as well, along with the political element as well. So it's a concoction, that is toxic when you get the United States and it's fuckery involved. So, but I just wanted to note what he said there, civil society. But though they have next to no power in their country, so he's talking about the civil society from Cuba, Nicaragua, and Venezuela are attending, though they have next to no power in their countries. I would argue they are more represented. They are more representative of their respective countries than the regimes that happen to be in place in that right now. Wow. Like I said, imagine China saying that about the Biden administration and see what the United States would have to say about it. Even people that don't like Biden, like military people, they're still very of that John Wayne ilk. Like, I didn't vote for him, but he's my president. They would have issues if China wouldn't recognize Biden or Trump or the current president of the United States as the president. Like, they would have a problem with that. Oh, and the fact that the United States just walks around all willy-nilly doing it is fucking utter blows my mind. But that's the arrogance of the West. That's the arrogance. They think they could just walk around. This is the rules based order. You do what we say, or we're going to sanction and starve your people. Fuck you. So Blinken also used the summit to stress concern about freedom of the notice. So I just did the Assange story. This is rich. I had to put this in here. But Blinken also used the summit to stress concern about freedom of the press in a region where journalists are often killed, threatened, or sued into silence, and acknowledge that it's often the leaders of those countries who bear responsibility. Gray Zone just got through a lawsuit with some chick who her family were ex-Iranians. They gave all of, so they back in like when Iran had its uprising and they overthrew the Shah of Iran. The United States sanctioned and basically stole like billions of dollars of their money. Well, they gave this woman that the Gray Zone went to court with, they gave her family millions of dollars. This chick squandered it on like cocaine, drugs, like the party girl lifestyle and shit like that. And she became like a journalist or some shit like that. And basically, like, she took Max and at the time Ben Norton. I have my issues with Ben Norton, but at the time she took them to court, over some bullshit. So they do that here in America, and there's no doubt that she was influenced, not necessarily, I'm not saying directly by the intelligence community, but definitely by people who surround, their little media puppets and poodles and shit like that. Like I said, you see what they're doing to Assange right now, as I covered. You see what they're doing to Daniel Hill. Like, again, this is the arrogance and hypocrisy of the West. They do it all the fucking time. So yeah, and continuing with the article, and acknowledge that it's often the leaders of those countries who bear responsibility. The U.S. goal, Blinken said, is to boost watchdog organizations that advocate for journalist safety and to pressure government leaders on the issue. We are first and foremost, so again, imposing how you see the world on other people. This is why countries would rather work for China, along with China, and build coalitions with China and Russia, because Russia and China don't impose their view of the world on other countries. It's oh my God, just the sheer arrogance. It's like, ugh. We are first and foremost trying to put a spotlight on this, and second, engaging directly with governments about the need to take actions to protect journalists, Blinken said. We see governments around the world using so-called legal tools to actually put free press out of business. This is literally what they're doing. That they literally did this to WikiLeaks. So before Assange, the whole Assange case, was going down the way it is now, they literally seized WikiLeaks funds. They pressured PayPal and all these other pay outlets to like ban WikiLeaks, so they couldn't receive donations. So WikiLeaks started doing like cryptocurrencies for donations and shit. Like they do the same shit. This is the same shit they do. It's fucking crazy. To put actual free press out of business, especially independent media. And there's another story that Max Blumenthal exposed. That there's this guy, I think his name's like Paul Mason or some shit. He's like a male AOC in like Britain and shit like that. Like this motherfucker was about to use the UK state to go after the gray zone, doing exactly what they're describing here. It's fucking insanity. This is why I'm like, the hypocrisy is just it's nauseating. But especially independent media, for example, with lawsuits designed to make them go bankrupt, Blinken said, we put in place funds that journalists can draw on and media enterprises can draw on in order to be able to defend themselves against these kinds of prosecutions. And this is so you're literally doing what they accuse China of doing with outlets like Gray Zone, WikiLeaks, and all. Like, they're propaganda outlets of Russia. You're literally doing that. He just said it. We fund journalistic outlets, independent outlets that are that oppose the government. You're basically doing propaganda. You're doing the Radio Free Asia and Radio Free Europe bullshit, but you're doing it through these regular people. He's admitting to it right now. Again, imagine if China were funding a journalistic outlet here in the fucking United States. I know a lot of you dipshits, you Trump people, believe that that's the New York Times and all these other outlets. It's fucking hilarious when they say, oh, China is okay. But imagine if China or Russia or Iran was doing this here in the United States would be fucking livid. They would be fucking livid and pushing people to go overthrow their government and shit. Like, they would be livid. They would consider it an act of war. Depending on the country, they would actually go to war with them. So we're going to go ahead and get into the history of the sanctions in Venezuela. So let's go ahead and get into it. Sanctions of mass destruction: America's war on Venezuela. This is written by Garaki Chengu. I think that's how you pronounce his name. I hope I pronounced it right. The fact that for America, the issue in Venezuela is oil, not democracy, will surprise only those who watch the news and ignore history. Venezuela has the world's largest oil reserves on the planet, more than Saudi Arabia. So that's why I knew the United States had to bring freedom and democracy to Venezuela. Once I found out they had the most oil in the world, I was like, yep, they definitely got to bring liberty to their people. So again, this is what the United States do. They're not there to protect freedom rights. They're there to steal their fucking natural resources. America seeks control of Venezuela because it sits atop the strategic intersection of the Caribbean, South and Central American worlds. Control of the nation has always been a remarkably effective way to project power into these three regions and beyond. From the first moment Hugo Chavez took office, the United States has been trying to overthrow Venezuela's socialist movement by using sanctions, coup attempts, and funding the opposition parties. After all, there's nothing more undemocratic than a coup d'etat. United States, they actually did this in Venezuela. So the United States, I think it was like the Marines or somebody, literally went into Venezuela, kidnapped Hugo Chavez, and took him to some undisclosed location. And then like the Venezuela and this puppet regime of the United States stepped in and said, we're the acting government now. And the Venezuelan people rioted to the point Maduro was actually in these riots. There's actually like video of Maduro like out there like protesting and shit like that and giving speeches and but the people were rioting and they had to bring Hugo Chavez back because it was destabilizing the country and they had to bring him back. So they actually did do this. This was literally Bush was like, he came out and gave a speech, was like, yeah, he resigned and just walked away. Like, yeah, nigga, I'm pretty sure he didn't. Like, Marines kidnapped him. Pretty sure he didn't resign, but regardless. United Nations Human Rights Council Special Rapporteur Alfred de Zayas recommended just a few days ago that the International Criminal Court investigate economic sanctions against Venezuela as a possible crime against humanity perpetrated by America. Now, The ICC was trying to do this with America in regards to Iran and its criminal sanctions. They were sanctioning medical supplies and food, which is illegal under international law. And the United States said, "Yeah, go fuck yourself. You and what army is going to stop us and do something about it?" It said, "Go fuck yourself." Over the past 5 years, American sanctions have cut Venezuela off from most financial markets, which have caused local oil production to plummet. So that's because of the sanctions. I'm going to get into more of why this is going on. It's very more insidious, and it's going to tie into what I was talking about at the top of this segment. But consequently, Venezuela has experienced the largest decline in living standards of any country in recorded Latin American history. Prior to American sanctions, socialism in Venezuela had reduced inequality and poverty whilst pensions expanded. During the same time period in America, it has been an absolute reverse. President Chavez funneled Venezuela's oil reserves into social spending as a free plus 6 healthcare, education, subsidized food networks, and housing construction. Now, I actually have this video. I'm not going to have time to go and find it and shit like that because it's like buried deep in my archive. Like it's going to take me too long to find it, but there's actual video of like they're like and RT reported this a while ago. This is years ago, but this is when Obama was like his first term. But and this is when Chavez was still alive and in power. He was sending oil to poor people here in America. This was during the during the recession. They were sending Venezuela was sending oil here to poor Americans who couldn't afford their gas bills and shit like that. They were sending them oil or fossil fuels here for free so they could heat people's houses. Like this, it was this old, this old lady, this old white woman who was like, I don't care what his politics are. Like he, out of the graciousness of his heart, helped us, reached out to us when our own government wasn't fucking doing that. And Chavez rubbed it in Obama's face. He was like, I'm very disappointed in Obama, the first black president, letting his people freeze in the way. Oh my God, it was crazy. But this is what they do in Venezuela. And this is why they don't like it. Like, this is why they overthrew Mossadegh in Iran originally in 1953. They did a coup in Iran. He nationalized the oil reserves. He told BP, the gas BP. Yeah, he told them to go kick rocks. We're going to give the profits of our oil to our people, the fund social programs like Chavez was doing. And they said, yeah, fuck that, and staged the coup. That's why they don't like Chavez. Okay. That's why they don't like him. In order to fully understand why America is waging economic war on the people of Venezuela, one must analyze the historical relationship between the petrodollar system and sanctions of mass destruction. Prior to the 20th century, the value of money was tied to gold. When banks lent money, they were constrained by the size of their gold reserves. But in 1971, U.S. President Richard Nixon took the country off the gold standard. Nixon and Saudi Arabia came to an oil for dollars agreement that would change the course of history and became the root cause of countless wars for oil. Under this petrodollar agreement, the only currency that Saudi Arabia could sell its oil in was the U.S. dollar. And that's what props our dollar up and why Joe Biden is over there giving Saudi Arabia the gawk 3,000 as they're talking about possibly taking the yuan now. The Saudi under this petrodollar agreement, the only currency that Saudi Arabia could sell its oil in was in U.S. dollars. The Saudi kingdom would in turn ensure that its oil profits flow back in the U.S. government treasuries and American banks. In exchange, America pledged to provide the Saudi royal family's regime with military power, protection, and military hardware. It was the start of something truly great for America. Access to oil defined 20th century empires, and the petrodollar agreement was the key to the ascendancy of the United States as the world's sole superpower. America's war machine runs on, is funded by, and exists in protection of oil. Threats by any nation to undermine the petrodollar system are viewed by Washington as tantamount to a declaration of war against the United States of America. Within the last 2 decades, Iraq, Iran, Libya, Venezuela have all threatened to sell their oil in other currencies. Consequently, they have all been subject to crippling U.S. sanctions. Sound familiar? Remember yesterday when I was talking about how Russia, now they did it in retaliation to economic sanctions because they're like, fuck it, man. The West continuously sanctions us. They hold this military posture towards this aggressive, hostile posture to us via NATO. We're just going to start cutting ourselves off from the West. So now Europe, you get most of your fossil fuels from us. If you want to continue to get those fossil fuels, you're going to pay for it in rubles. And don't worry, even if you want to be a dickhead and send it to us in euros, we're going to take your fucking euros, like I explained in the video yesterday, but I'll explain it again. We're going to take your fucking euros, do convert it for you from the euro to the ruble, and we're going to use it to pay for your oil and send you your oil. You'll get your oil if you send those euros, and we convert it for you and go on your merry way. And it's going to prop our currency up, our ruble up. It's fucking genius. It's brilliant, honestly. It's brilliant. And in return, it's inflating the price of oil right now, which is why gas prices are going up. So literally, Joe Biden and the West are sanctioning their own fucking people. Essentially, that's what they're doing. Now, some people would say, "Oh, that's incompetence." I would say that's by design because they're trying to usher in all this like green energy, Green New Deal bullshit. And people who watch my channel know I used to be a proponent of the Green New Deal, not so much anymore. So I might I'm gonna do a stream about that next Saturday probably. But yeah. So all those countries, you see the picture of why they shit on these countries now, right? While standing arm in arm with regimes like Israel, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, all these other these fucking despot fascistic countries. So yeah. Over time, the petrodollar system spread beyond oil, and the US dollar slowly but surely became the reserve currency for global trades in most commodities and goods. This system allows America to maintain its position of dominance as the world's only superpower, despite being a staggering $23 trillion in debt. With billions of dollars worth of minerals in the ground and with the world's largest oil reserves, Venezuela should not only be wealthy, but her people the envy of the developing world. But the nation is essentially broke because American sanctions have cut them off from the international financial system and cost the economy $6 billion over the last 5 years. Now, again, so when you hear people say, oh, socialism and communism hasn't worked anywhere it goes, this is why. Because every time they get something going, and things are the quality of life starts improving for these people, the United States steps in and starts fucking with it and fucking it up. But once people never talk about that, it's utter insanity. It's utter lunacy. Venezuela could recover easily. Hang on 1 second, guys. That's my guest hit me up. By collateralizing some of its abundant resources or its $8 billion of her gold reserves in order to get the loans necessary to kickstart their economy. Now, the problem with that is, so as he talked about, or it's 8 billion of gold reserves that it has. So this article was written before this happened. The United Kingdom, where Venezuela has, stored its gold, I would say that's a mistake that they made. But in these European banks where they store their gold, the United Kingdom seized their gold. They seized it. They took it. So now they can't even do that. What this guy just said, they can't even do that because they seized and stole their fucking gold. You see how they fucking do? This is why, a lot of countries are starting to move away from Western institutions because they wield the monetary institutions as a weapon against countries that they don't like, countries that won't be subservient. That is what Russia is doing. That is what China is doing. That is what all of these countries are doing. And the West is only fucking themselves over by doing that, by the way. The only people that are fucking over is themselves. Over the last 5 years, sanctions have caused Venezuelan per capita incomes to drop by 40%, which is a decline similar to that of what? War-torn Iraq and Syria. At the height of their armed conflicts, millions of Venezuelans had to flee the country. If America is so concerned about refugees, Trump should stop furthering disastrous policies that actually create them. Under Chavez, Venezuela had a policy of welcoming refugees. President Chavez turned Venezuela into the wealthiest society in Latin America with the best income equality. In September 2017, Maduro made good on Chavez's promise to list oil sales in yuan rather than the US dollar. Weeks later, Trump signed a round of crippling sanctions on the people of Venezuela. There you have it. So going into sanctions, going all the way back to Obama, deeply concerned Obama imposes sanctions on Venezuelan officials. The White House places sanctions on 7 individuals and expresses grave worries about the Venezuelan government's treatment of political opponents. So this was before Trump, obviously, because Obama was in office. Then Trump came and did even harsher sentences. Now, This is where I say it gets interesting and it ties in even more. Like that article, like explained it very well, but this article just like straight up in your face tells you what it is. This is actually, I think it's called the Oil Times. I pulled this article from. But did the Saudis in the U.S. collude in dropping oil prices? Just give me 1 second. I want to make sure our guests. All right, let me get through this segment. Did the Saudis in the U.S. collude in dropping oil prices? Now, this is by Andrew Tomf, and this is from December 2014. The oil price the oil price drop that has dominated the headlines in recent weeks has been framed almost exclusively in terms of oil market economics, with most media outlets blaming Saudi Arabia through its OPEC Trojan horse for driving down the price, thus causing serious damage to the world's major oil exporters, most notably Russia. This is back in 2014. While the market explanation is partially true, it is simplistic and fails to address key geopolitical pressure points in the Middle East. And that's from oil. Yeah, it's called oilprice.com, guys. Oilprice.com looked into the headlines for the reason behind the oil price drop and found that the explanation, while difficult to prove, may revolve around control of oil and gas in the Middle East and the weakening of Russia, Iran, and Syria by flooding the market with cheap oil, and also Syria or Venezuela. You can add Venezuela to that list as well. Saudis and other OPEC members have, of course, used the oil price for the adverse effect that is suppressing production to keep prices artificially high and member states swimming in petrodollars. In 2008, oil peaked at $147 a barrel. So they do the adverse when it benefits them. However, analysis shows the reasoning is complex and may go beyond simply taking down the price to gain back lost market share. So they're not doing it for the reason that they just said previously. Why are they doing it? What is the reason for the United States and some allies wanting to drive down the price of oil? Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro asked rhetorically in October to harm Russia. That's what he said, but also to harm them. I would say to harm them as well. Many believe the oil price plunge is the result of deliberate and well-planned collusion on the part of the United States and Saudi Arabia to punish Russia and Iran for supporting the murderous Assad regime in Syria. But again, I think one of those targets was also Venezuela that they're not talking about as well, because in tandem with doing this, Barack Obama slapped these sanctions on them as well. This is great stuff here. Now we're going to move into. Oh, that's okay. We're going to move into a couple of days. We're going to talk about Juan Guaido now. We're going to talk about Juan Guaido, which is going to be fucking hilarious because that guy's a dick. But let's go ahead and get into that. Let's go ahead and move into that real quick. Let me pull it up. So going back to Juan Guaido, the very interesting thing about this guy is that, like I said, they still. 1 second. They still recognize Juan Guaido as the president, even as they're on their knees begging Maduro. They're not exactly giving Maduro the Gok 3000. They're definitely on their knees begging him for some fucking oil. But they're still recognizing this guy Juan Guaido as president. But the funny part about that is actually, let's go ahead and get into this not necessarily article, but this press briefing. This is a press release. Readout of President Biden's call with Venezuelan interim president Juan Guaido. So they still call him the president, the interim president. President Joseph R. Biden Jr. spoke today with Venezuelan interim president Juan Guaido to underscore the United States' recognition of and support for the 2015 democratically elected National Assembly and Guaido as the interim president of Venezuela. This is insane. This is insanity. Biden expressed his support for Venezuelan-led negotiations as the best path forward to a peaceful restoration of democratic institutions, free and fair elections, and respect for the human rights and fundamental freedoms of all Venezuelans. They discussed the role the United States and other international partners can play in supporting a negotiated solution to Venezuela's crisis. I can tell you the solution. Leave their country the fuck alone and lift the sanctions. Same thing with Cuba, same thing with Nicaragua, same thing with all of these countries. Leave them the fuck alone. Lift sanctions, go the fuck away. The Medhurst doctrine. Mind your fucking business. That's the solution. President Biden reaffirmed the United States is willing to calibrate sanctions policies as informed by the outcomes of negotiations that empower the Venezuelan people to determine the future of their country. So basically saying, we need that oil right now, so you guys need to fuck off. They didn't even invite this guy to the Summit of the Americas because they didn't want to push too far on Maduro to push him away, basically. It's fucking hilarious. They're like dancing this tightrope, and it's fucking hilarious to watch. So they're still recognizing that guy as president. And here are two videos I'm going to show you real quick. How do I do this? How do I do this? Yeah, so again, this is during the election. So like I said, during the election, they told their people not to go out and vote. So since you told your people not to go out and vote, your party, like, even though like this guy, he like Maduro won, it was still by like a razor thread, I believe. But you told your people not to go out and vote, and the other parties went out and voted. The opposition parties that aren't aligned with Juan Guaido went out and voted, but they didn't. His faction didn't go out and vote. So he just, like, after telling his people not to go vote, and obviously they lost. This is what he went out and declared himself president. So I believe they were calling him like a motherfucker there in Spanish or something like that. I don't know if that's exactly what they were doing, but at one point, Juan Guaido himself was calling Maduro a motherfucker in the town square, and they were still having rallies after this. This guy still walks around in public. So let me ask you this: if Maduro is a dictator like they say he is, what dictator allows his opposition to do this? Please explain to me. Please. Look at this.
Juro asumir formalmente las competencias del Ejecutivo Nacional.
Again, this guy's not the president.
Como el presidente encargado
And he's swearing himself in as president. This is like me saying, like, as a rapper, this is like me saying, hey, I didn't get nominated for a Grammy, but I'm just going to show up to the Grammys as if I did. Can't expect them to let me in.
Un gobierno de transición y tener elecciones libres. Si así lo hiciere, que Dios y la paz te lo premien, sino que os condenen.
Bro, this is nuts. Like, I've never seen shit like this before.
Ante Dios.
Never seen shit like this before. So he goes out and declares himself the president. And let's actually get into this Abby Martin video too, because she breaks a little bit of the situation down as well. Abby Martin is somebody else. I've had, not complaints about or anything like that, but like some of the thing, her COVID stances and everything I don't agree with, but her foreign policy is on point for the most part. Let's go ahead and get into that as she breaks this down.
Venezuela firsthand made me realize how much the media is lying to us about the reality on the ground. The U.S. government and its propaganda arms say it's a dictatorship where mass famine and civil unrest demands U.S. intervention. They deliberately don't tell you key facts. An economic war being waged inside by private businesses and outside of the country by crushing U.S. sanctions.
So again, like I said, in tandem with Saudi Arabia purposely driving down oil prices to neglect people from going to buy it, it was a direct attack on Russia first and foremost. They were going after Russia, but I also think this was in tandem with Venezuela because, like I said, as soon as I learned that Venezuela had the largest oil reserves in the fucking world, I knew we had to go bring freedom and fucking democracy to their fucking people. As soon as I knew that, I was like, that's why we're there. Like, I don't know why people don't get this through their fucking heads. The United States doesn't fucking care about freedom and democracy. They don't give a shit. All they care about is oil because they're all bought by the fucking oil companies, which is why they're letting Chevron go in there and drill now because we're having energy crisis, and that's why he's going to Saudi Arabia to suck the crown prince's dick to get some fucking oil. That's what's going on.
Trump's sanctions have debilitated the Venezuelan economy, costing them $6 billion just in the last year. And sanctions do exactly as they're intended to do, by hitting the poor and working class people the hardest. Their strategy is to starve the people into submission, then cynically use that humanitarian crisis as the premise for more intervention. They say that millions of people are demanding the ouster of Maduro. What they deliberately don't show you are the millions who support Maduro, who voted for him, who are also in the streets protesting this criminal coup attempt. They say that a coup is democracy, that Guaido is restoring the Constitution by declaring himself president in a country that just held a presidential election last year. We've seen this propaganda playbook before, from Latin America to the Middle East, and it's literally being led by the same war criminals. John Bolton, who lied us into war with Iraq, Elliot Abrams, who facilitated a genocide in Guatemala. 1 million Iraqis died for a war based on lies, paved by the so-called free press. They're doing it again. All progressives and anti-interventionists have to stand in solidarity with our brothers and sisters in Venezuela to defend their sovereignty.
So yeah, there she breaks down the whole sanctions crisis there and everything like that. And what I also find amusing about this, Garland Nixon posted this on his what is it called? His Twitter. And so Juan Guaido is in favor of all these sanctions and shit like that. Like he's even like the United States has actually given him money from like their gold reserves and shit like that. Like they've actually given the money, the West has like $250 million or something like that, I think. So there, yeah. But this is how the Venezuelan people, feel, the actual people on the ground feel about this guy. He's supposed to be of the people and shit like that. This is how the people feel about him. So this is him at a restaurant. Like I said, this guy walks around willy-nilly, free and about. He's the opposition figure declaring himself president, and he's still allowed to walk around in this dictatorship. Make it make sense. And this is how the people feel about him. Now, I'm not advocating violence or anything like that. I'm saying this is how his people are reacting to him and his stances and his support of the sanctions and the economic war on Venezuela. This is how they feel about him. I'm not advocating this, but what I'm saying is this is how his people feel about him. Yeah. And Garland Nix is hilarious. He said Biden's puppet in Venezuela, Guaido barely escaped with his life. The Venezuelans hate his guts. So very fascinating stuff, man. Very fascinating stuff. And I believe that's it for this one. Yeah, that's it for this one, guys, for this segment. So hope you enjoyed it. I want to go to a break real quick, and I'm going to bring our guest on, and we're going to go to, more of like, me and HiMedia are going to be kicking the shit about different political topics going on, specifically this Lauren Boebert situation, like I listed in the description. So I will be back in 1 second. All right, guys, we are back, and I'm here with my guest. I would like to introduce him on. He's been on the show before. He's been on Talks Talk. Now he's on the stream. I would like to welcome my guy, HiMedia, aka Evan, aka my guy. Let's get him in here. Yo,
Let's
what's
fucking
good, man?
go. What's good, bro? How you doing? I'm gonna record this for my damn self too. Probably thought it'd be nice to I've been as you know, Caleb Bendu here, being one of the handful of illustrious people kind enough to be patrons on my Patreon. I've been a bit of a slack ass of getting stuff on there, and I just wanted to have this be one piece of something that, while while it's a little, it's not technically mine per se, I do want to at least share it with some people and to not take away from your views, of course.
Oh yeah, for sure, bro. It's all, bro. Do you, bro? You already know how it is over here, man.
Yeah, listen. I'm of the philosophy that unless I get express permission to re-upload shit, I don't do that shit. Especially if it's with one of my homies.
I feel that.
I brought a little pro tip for anybody watching. If you want to support the homie watching them on Twitch or whatever, if you got Firefox, and I don't know if Chrome has, but Firefox, you can mute the tab, but let the audio play on the Twitch itself, and it counts as a view. Really? So it's basically what I do is I will take down the I'll basically pull up your stream or one of my buddies' streams while I'm working or something. I'll mute the tab, and they'll have an extra view the entire time they're streaming. So it helps boost them in the algorithm and shit.
Dude, your camera looks fucking fantastic right now, man.
I mean, I spent $400 or $500 on a fucking GoPro 9 Black, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, my girlfriend said, Evan, I love you, but I can't watch your videos. It's too grainy. Because she's a photography major, and she's in that shit. And so it's I kind of I upped my thumbnail game, and I upped my equipment game because I love her to death, and I want her to like the things that I make too.
Word. So I guess let's go ahead and get into this, man. I thought this would be a dope story for us to talk about, but
yeah, definitely.
This is Lauren Boebert situation, man. This is very very interesting and fascinating to me because on one hand, the inner liberal in me, I'll say, wants to just lambast this woman for just her utter hypocrisy, if this is true. Because like I said, I actually have an article queued up we can look through real quick. But yeah, if this is true. But on the other hand, the same thing, I think we talked about Cawthorn on here before. It's very weird because apparently this is the same pack that took him down as well for comments he made about orgies and things like that, orgies happening on Capitol Hill and everything.
So to bring it, before we get to the joke, Joe, haha, funny, may parts of the conversation, the fact of the matter is that the establishment Republicans are desperately trying to get rid of the Trump-style Republicans, and to certain extents that their efforts have worked. in some places, maybe not so much in others. And this is just another example. Like Madison Cawthorn, very vocal, very high profile, very prominent in the MAGA movement, makes logical sense to me that the old guard fascists would want to get rid of these new blood fascists, in my personal opinion. I call them fascists because, as far as I'm concerned, that's all the modern maybe not all modern conservatism, but the modern Republican Party is all become at this point. But you know me, I'm a lefty, a tried and true.
And I feel that there will be certain points I disagree with on, but I think what you just said right there is very fascinating, because this is why I give credence to the Trump crowd and all that, because I could definitely see Trump doing what I believe Bernie should have done, which is like basically saying, if this continues and goes on, fuck the Republican Party, I'm going to go start my own party. And I don't know what would happen at that point. I honestly don't know what happened at that point. I don't know if the powers that be that actually control these parties would allow him to do that, or if they would just bury him. Because like I said, he still has that New York case hanging over his head. Well, I didn't say I'm so used to saying that, like I said, but like I'm saying now, he has that New York case hanging over his head and things like that. And it's like, so I don't know if he would do that, but like in terms with that, but I could definitely see him being more ballsy on that than like Bernie Sanders, for example, because like literally, dude, like the party cheated you twice, and it's like, I think he just came out and said he's going to support Biden if he runs or whatever. He's not going to primary him, which is completely and utterly fucking ridiculous. But like,
yeah.
but just on that note, with Republicans, like, could you see him doing that? Could you see Trump doing that? Honestly,
oh, absolutely. He's a dickhead. Like, you don't give him, because the thing is that you have like the people in Congress are so like you have some exceptions. You have like Natalie Porter. You have Natalie Porter. That's basically all I can think about who actually like genuinely, and maybe Bernie Sanders, and probably Bernie Sanders too, who at least appear like they genuinely give a shit about us. Everybody else, all the other Democrats, especially the establishment ones, just feel like they're so distant from like the actual ramifications of like their inaction that it's it's like what can you do? Like the fact, like I think it was Nevada when left-wingers swept through the state government. Basically, the entire Democratic Party said, "All right, so we're going to give all of us bonuses, and we're going to take all of the money out of this state's fund and put it in the national fund, and we're just all going to like fuck off and leave." Like they took all of the that staffers, all of the they literally left like an entire state government to be run by like 12 people, and They had to scramble to find new people. Like it's like the establishment people views like me, a lefty, as dangerous as a MAGA person, which to me is absurd because, frankly, I'm not like I am the MAGA people. While the individual person might be anti-authoritarian, might want to make changes, get money into politics, all those great things. The movement is driven by individuals and groups that have very authoritarian tendencies. You can't, it's very, very hard. Like, I don't care how strong the institution of the U.S. government or the different institutions are. You can't, like, no matter how strong an institution seems to be, it can't survive being filled to the brim with bad faith actors. And I'm not saying that the establishment people are stellar here. They're absolutely not, and they gotta go. But I will say that the people, the groups, like the powered interests driving the MAGA movement are definitely not pro-democracy.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that, honestly. I really don't know about that.
But I do want to say two things though. One, I apologize if it seems like I seem bored or tired or whatever. I woke up at 4:00 this morning because I had a hackathon where I was working with an internal team over in London to build something. We placed, came in third, so and my name's on a plaque somewhere in London, so poggers. But
You should drink a scotch, old boy, to that. You should drink a scotch to that, my friend.
Like funny tangent before we get to my second point. My girlfriend was playing Cyberpunk 2077 like from like 9 to like 9 at night when I went to bed till 4 in the morning when I woke up when my alarm went off. And like when I came out, gave her a kiss, and then I like went back, and she got up and said, "Come on, honey, you have responsibility." And I'm like, I don't want to do it. It's like, but you promised them you'd help, and I'm like, they're English, fuck them. and then she said, but you're supposed to, but they said that it's important to their project if you don't do it. I'm like, I don't give a fuck. The English are bastards and enslaved a quarter of the world. And then she said, like, but you promised. And I'm like, they said that I said the Irish didn't have voting rights until 1975. And then she says, Evan. And I'm like, if they were based out of Glasgow, I'd give a fuck. And then cooler heads prevailed. 5 minutes went by. I punched my pillow and I got up and logged on and did my fucking job. Right. So that's why I'm a disaster, looking like a disaster right now. My second point is that again, because like all of these things feel like they're connected to me, like to the macro issue of just like I feel like we are heading down a path that leads to pure authoritarianism at some point in the future, and unless something in our current status quo changes heavily towards the favor of the left, where it's unavoidable. So that's that. But the reason why, and that's part of the reason why whenever we talk, we get on these tangents. Let's bring it back to Lauren Boebert just so we can have.
Oh, no, it's cool, bro. This is actually what I wanted from this segment, like just us talking.
Oh, you? All right, I feel that. I'm just trying to be more. I'm trying to be respectful.
No, you're good, bro. You're good. You're good.
But let's talk about Lauren Boebert for a second. Like, let's be real. Nancy Reagan, the original the OG throat goat, if I might remind everybody, bro. Remember, like fucking Reagan had a death claw on her when Sinatra was at the White House. It also, like, you ever see that picture where she's like looking at Sinatra, like holding on to Sinatra, and Reagan looks like an incel like on his face or some shit. It's fucking hilarious. Nah, but like she didn't give a fuck about stem cell research till Reagan got. What was it? Alzheimer's. She didn't give a she hated gay. She didn't give a fuck about gay people till her daughter came out as gay. And it's just like with any other conservative politician, they don't give a flying fuck about the things that ail any of us until it affects them directly.
But let me ask you this. Can I ask you this though, real quick?
Yeah.
So I get that there's this disdain for, conservatives and religious conservatives here in the West, but
probably
like,
I will say my disdain comes more towards the leadership. In the
but hang on,
power with that.
But hang on though. But and these people on the left champion socialism, they champion communism, some people even champion Marxism and things like that. They talk about these marginalized communities in these socialist countries. A lot of them are fucking conservative as fuck. Like you have certain countries that are like literally Roman Catholic in a lot of these these socialist countries. And it's like that it bewilders me because when the left, like I say this all the time, like the left constantly puts themselves on not necessarily the wrong side of the argument, but it's kind of like Americans, like for example, when it comes to like sex work, or it comes to abortion, or different subjects like that, like although it is more realistic to be on that side, what you got to realize is there's a lot of Americans that don't fuck with that shit. And there's also a lot of, of all stripes and colors in America. And then there's socialist countries that don't fuck with, like Nicaragua has one of the strictest abortion laws in the fucking world.
Yeah, well, you got to remember that, like, most countries that say they're socialist or communist are just either state capitalist or authoritarian. Like, that's just like my thing are the places if you work if you work at a sawmill or whatever, do you get the, like, if you're one of, like, here's my thing. If I saw a place like China fit, like, all of the businesses were worker co-ops, like I sat down and, like, actually, like, started, like, researching, like, socialism and stuff, and I watched a fantastic hour-long dissertation by a doctor, I think his name's Richard Wolff.
Yeah, Professor Wolff, yeah.
Where he basically broke down what socialism is to me, and I'm like, that video. I'm gonna be completely honest with you, like that. Like the BLM protests, the bailouts of the big companies with the PPP, like the Great Resignation, starting to watch Vosh in, like, October of, like, 2021. Like, there is nothing in the last 3 years that radicalized me more to the left than that fucking video. Because I'm gonna be real with you. I think democracy is the best system of governance. Period. Like, is it flawed? Absolutely. But it has the capacity for checks and balances. It has the capacity to be it is significantly harder to co-opt a democratic government than it is in an authoritarian one. And so I say all that to say this. Genuinely, I'm at the point where it's like, you want to know how I pitch? You know, I pitch to people saying, hey, you want to know how we can you want to know, I say, I want to remove authoritarianism from, I want to remove the authoritarian nature of the workplace. I say that to liberal people. And they say, what do you mean by that? And I'm like, well, I think that the people who are best to understand how to make say a Walgreens run day to day properly are the people that work there and the people that are invested in that workplace. And I think that a good system for that is something called a worker co-op. And a lot of liberals, because we've lived in a country that has hammered home the authoritarian nature of the workplace, I say to them, they ask, well, what's a worker co-op? And I'm like, well, what it basically is all the people that work there, they vote on on who gets to be their manager, and if their and their manager does a good job, they get to keep their job at the end of the year. If the manager did a good job, they get to keep their job. If they didn't, they got to go. And that level of democracy goes up, and then the workers and the managers then vote for the next person up, and then the next person up, and then the next person up, until the corporate structure is chosen not from a board of directors of people who are invested in profit over people, but instead by the people who make up that company. Because if we think back to the pandemic, these restaurants, these grocery stores, these pharmacies, none of them would have been in operation if it wasn't for the people working. And then people just went home, and people just said, I don't want to work, it's not safe. And then all of them are scrambling to try and keep people on as emergency workers and shit. Mm-hmm. And that, to me, I mean, I think for most Americans, like, that is recent enough in our public consciousness that I can say, are you telling me that the people that are on the front lines every day and the ones that are invested in making the profits of this company happen? Like, here's an example of a company that I like that doesn't do this exactly, but does something, but does make it so everybody's invested in the company. Lego. I don't know if you know this or not, but the Lego company gives bonuses to every single member of the company there is a fund that every time you buy anything Lego ever, a piece of that money goes into that fund. And then at different points in the year, everybody in the company gets an even cut of that money. Everybody. Every single worker that works for Lego gets a cut of that money. Now, I'm not saying that's perfect, and I'm not even saying that's anywhere close to what I'm doing. But what I am saying is that is a level of investment in workers that makes that, like, because they don't care if somebody steals their sale. They don't care if somebody does does any shit like says, oh, I've got this. I was able to get this person to buy $500 worth of Lego products, and then somebody comes in and swipes their sale. Doesn't matter. Everybody gets paid. Mm-hmm. You know, and so those kind of those are the kind of things where I will say to a liberal and say, listen, like, I'm sure you've worked a job where you were treated like shit. You've worked, like, I don't know about you, but my big sister and her wife are going to be moving to Florida. My sister's wife worked at the Cheesecake Factory down in Christiana Mall for like the last 4 years. She was a manager. Well, she was like a shift lead kind of thing. She came in and gave her 2 weeks notice, and her boss was like, what can I do to keep you? And bear in mind, this boss was a dickhead. He let her to run the shit. He was never there. He was a dickhead. And so she basically said, yo, I'm making 15 more grand, and they're paying for all my expenses to move. He's like, I can't beat that. And I'm like, I know. And she's like, I know. And the thing is that the Cheesecake Factory, once she leaves in 2 weeks, the Cheesecake Factory at Christiana Mall, unless that dickhead brings in someone just as competent as her, which I doubt he'll do, that place is going to go to hell. Mm-hmm. People are already leaving en masse because she's leaving, because we all know people who are the types of workers that are the only thing keeping a place from unraveling. And these are these are examples I will use to say, like, and you're going to tell me that this manager who got in his position by sucking dick, figuratively or metaphorically, is better suited at this position? Like, no. The fact of the matter is that, and I'll say that, and this is where, like, I'm putting my capitalist hat on for a second. Being a manager is an actual skill. Like, you can't, like, I am not capable of managing people unless I am chosen to be put in that position. Like, every time I'm given authority over people, I kind of, like, just go brain off, let's get the shit done, and I kind of, like, am less concerned about people's feelings because I'm a go-getter, you know what I mean? But if a group of people invest, say, hey, we want you to tell us what to do and lead us, and it's like through osmosis like that, then I'm a lot more, there's just something in me that becomes a lot more reverential and respectful of the position I'm in. Like, people, like, there are people who just should not be managers because they don't know how to manage people. Like, if you're a manager and somebody says to you, hey, I gotta leave, my kid's gonna be my kid's really sick, like, you can't say, well, if you can't leave right now, you're gonna get a write-up. I'm like, that's not properly managing people. What you're supposed to do is you're supposed to call the other person, like the dude who has a day off right now, and say, hey, listen, so and so just got, like, her kid really sick, and I'm short a person. I really need you to come in. I know it's your day off. I'll give you an extra day off next week, and I'll give you overtime, and I'll give you an extra day off next week, and I'll also give you some overtime next week. So, like, I'll give you a few extra hours on this day and this day, so it evens out. Like that. Like, that's what the fuck you do. You know what I mean? But most managers don't do that. You know, a bad manager, like there's a poll that said that 97% of Americans polled in like some Gallup poll, which is like just broad, said they quit a job in the last 5 years because of a manager. People don't quit, and it's that capitalist saying, people don't quit jobs, people quit managers.
Okay.
So,
I hear your
spiel.
And I hear your point with the the worker co-ops and everything, but my argument against that is that, and I don't necessarily disagree with that, that's a wonderful concept and everything, but it doesn't solve the overall societal issues that we're facing. And this is where I feel like
hang on. What societal issues are you in reference to, just so we're on the same page? Societal bullet points.
Well, like right now, the fact that like I went from paying $30 in gas to $60 in gas, that is
a problem of to your point, that is a problem of the global Western hegemony being run by it being so capitalistic in nature.
Well, hang on. Go ahead. Wait, hang on. But that's what I'm saying, and I agree with you on that. But the solution isn't like worker cooperatives, in my opinion. Like that's
definitely. No, I'm talking about like things that are. I'm talking like that is a solution to a part of a very large pile of shit.
Well, hang on.
But are you? Quick question though, before we continue.
Hang on, let me make my point though.
Sorry, my bad. I'm a dickhead. I'm sorry, my bad.
Yeah, no, you're good, bro. You're good. But what I'm saying is like that's a half measure to me, and that's not socialism. That's just not socialism. Like worker cooperatives, that's an aspect of socialism, but that's not socialism. Socialism is the people controlling the means and productions of goods in society and controlling the important sectors in society. So, for example, like with the energy crisis.
Wait, hold on. How is that? So, how is that not like if Exxon was a worker co-op?
Well, hang on. I didn't get to finish.
Sorry. My bad.
Yeah, and and not only is it just sorry about that, is it just that, but it's also not geared for profit. Like the whole point, a worker cooperative is still at the end of the day boiled down to making a profit. At the end of the day, if your company does not make a fucking profit, you go out of business. But like we need to be organizing the economy not based off profits, but the need of the people. That is what socialism is. So we need to be focused on the people controlling the important sectors of the economy and not have it ruled and dictated by the chaos of the free market. That's just like the fact of the matter.
Here's what I will say. I don't disagree, but it's like it's like when I was talking. It's like when my girlfriend had her friends over, and I was talking about how like I'm in like lefty politics and stuff. And I was saying how like, and I was saying, well, Evan, aren't you working for JP Morgan? Aren't you working for don't you run a business? I'm like, yeah. I don't like the system I live in, but I participate in it because the alternative is homelessness and destitution. Sure. Like I don't work for a company that I personally have a lot of political issues with. I mean, I run a business and do it I may not agree with the systems in place with the system we live in, but it's the system we live in. If money is the capital by which we can enact change, you're not going to be able to enact change if you don't participate in it. Like if I work and save and invest and play all these games, I can take that surplus of money that I don't need and then put it towards causes as a investor into changing the systems of how I got that money in the first place. Because the big thing is turning is making worker co-ops the dominant. You good?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is making worker co-ops the dominant type of business structure in America true socialism? No. Is that what we need to get to? Absolutely not. But you know what it is? It is a solid goal that we can work to from now. And listen, what you want, that's the end goal. That is the dream.
That's not the dream. That's the beginning. That's the beginning. And you
don't even have. But let me just finish my point real quick. My point, fine. It's just the beginning. But the fact of the matter is that we're not if that's the beginning, we got to do the prep work to get there in the first place. And we're not and it's like to take so in computer program in software development, we have in Agile, we have these concepts called sprints. Sprints are 2-week periods where we decide what the fuck can we get done in these 2 weeks, and we get it the fuck done. And then you have a bunch of sprints over a period of time until a product's completed. Whatever the end goal is, whether I agree with it or not, whatever my end goal is, that is the end. That's the finished product. We need to get like what you said with like everybody's taking care of all that shit. That is a sprint down the line. But before we can get there and do all the things that need to be done in that sprint, we got a bunch of 2-week blocks we got to get through first. And I'm not even talking about like half measures of going of fucking Obamacare and shit, of compromises and bullshit like that. What I'm talking about is making meaningful change over time. Like, you and I are not going to see these systems in our lifetime. I think but sitting around fighting with each other about and this is kind of one of the fucking things I hate about the online left a bunch. I know you're not a giant fan of Vosh at all, but I agree with him on this 1,000%. I feel like so many people on the left, are just have the term leftist as their identity, just as aesthetic. It's like they end up bitching and fighting with other people over shit and not actually contributing anything meaningful to doing anything different. I know that for me, why the fuck are there so many bugs in here? Is that an open window or something? No, but my big thing is that I hate that so many leftists are you and I have very, very different definitions of what leftism is, but genuinely, before you and I would get to a point where we disagree on what the sprint goal is, that's way far ahead. The goal right now is to work on removing the systems that allow the bourgeoisie to hold power. Things like literally by appointing court judges to the Supreme Court to repeal money in politics rulings.
But they're not going to do that.
Things.
And even if they do, there's going to be loopholes to it. That's what I'm saying. That's my point. Right,
but the thing is that I don't want to do I'm not in favor of a semi-violent replacement of the current system, because there is absolutely no guarantee. It's kind of what I think a lot of the online leftists kind of are just, they're just sitting around nihilistic, not voting in the system, not participating in the system, not marching, not being part of mutual aid, not voting, not going to town hall meetings, not adding political pressure. They're just sitting in their room being nihilistic as fuck, and I'm naming your. I'm sorry. I'm looking at your Twitch comments because, like I said, I got your shit up on my thing. But no, I was just saying that it's like sitting around and shit, like waiting for like all of this shit to burn down. Which, to be fair, if we go on the trajectory we are, like we're gonna have an authoritarian government, probably some fascism. It's gonna be 20 years of hell, and then
It's already
collapse.
here. It's been
no,
here.
it can be worse. It'll get worse. It's just gonna be like just wait until they go mask off and start like listen.
No, they're doing it now. They're literally talking about repealing Miranda rights right now, bro. They're literally doing it right now. If you want to go see fascism, go to fucking my old neighborhood in Philly and you'll see it with the police. That's what I keep trying to tell people. It's already fucking here. And it's coming from both sides.
It's going to get worse. And it's only going to get worse. If it's like, don't get me wrong, America's already very authoritarian right now. I'm saying that it is going to get way fucking worse. It's going to go way fucking worse. Like there's not even going to be a veneer of democracy. It's just going to be people with guns come and tell you what the fuck to do.
See, and that's that. So just to like, we could get to that end part, but a couple of things I want to like not necessarily like, you know, like come at you or anything, just to respond to. It's like there's a couple points in there where it's like, you know, the whole online left thing. Like, for example, I'm not even going to go to the extreme, you know, figures that I know you're not going to agree on, but for example,
Jimmy Dore, Gray Zone,
I mean,
them, yeah,
whatever,
I know. Yeah.
Whatever, but it's whatever. I'm talking about the Revolutionary Blackout Network, for example. All of the things that you just listed, or the Fred Hampton leftists, you might know about that. All the things you just listed, saying that the online left doesn't do, they actually do, and they still get shitted on. And
1,000%. It's all I know people that are like doing that, like doing mutual aid, and they're doing political advocacy, they're doing surveying, they're fucking going to political action committees, they're fucking talking to politicians, they're harassing politicians. Great shit. The problem is they are not the ones with the loudest microphones. You have a bunch of dipshits on Twitter fighting with each other.
Though, but they are. No, hold on, hang on. They are. But you have people from your side that shit on them, like Bausch, like Hassan Piker, like all these different people that shit on them, because the only thing they disagree with you on is the electoral politics aspect, because they see that as a dead end, and especially through the Democratic Party. Like I say this on my channel all the fucking time. You're never going to vote your way out of this. You're not going to vote. It's not going to fucking happen. Your elections are bought. Your politicians are bought. No, and even the ones that aren't are going to get fucking co-opted. It happens all the fucking. We see it happen all the time. Why do you think Bernie Sanders is not going to primary Joe Biden when he's not doing anything that his action committee even suggested that Joe Biden does? Why? How
about the fact? And it's also the fact that the fucking head of the January 6th committee said yesterday that that they're not going to prosecute anybody.
Why are we focused on this right now? Why are we focused on January 6th right now?
Like, here's the thing. He said that shit to me. He said that shit on live, and I'm like, don't get me wrong. I think that there's enough damning evidence that a good chunk of the Republican Party should be charged with sedition if Biden wanted to be based and not a little bitch baby. But I don't know. It's like I'm like why the fuck, like y'all focusing on this shit when 2 weeks ago, like the Supreme Court literally said exculpatory evidence isn't worth having or isn't enough legal grounds for a retrial. It was literally all the Republican appointed judges that voted for that shit, and all the Democrat appointed ones didn't.
I mean,
like, listen.
I think we fundamentally have differences on January 6th. I see January 6th just like Russiagate, in all honesty. Like it's a way for them to go after their political enemies. That's exactly what the fuck this shit is.
Good.
That's what it is. And it's something for them to run on.
Here's my thing. Listen, Democrats suck. I'm the first to say it, but like, here's my thing. And I know, and this, and I actually engage with this here. Don't just say I'm just not going to vote when I say this shit, because I know that's what you would say. If somebody comes up to you and says, "Hey," if somebody comes to you and says, "I'm going to shoot you in the fucking face," and then another person says, I promise I'm not going to shoot you in the face." even though you just saw, even though a few days ago you saw them shoot someone in the face. Who are you going to go with?
Which one am I going to go with?
Yeah, who are you going to go on a walk in the woods with?
Do you want me to be completely honest with you?
Sure.
The one that told me they're going to shoot me in my face.
Here's my thing. Here's my
I ain't no bitch. I'm going down with a fight.
The Republican Party has said repeatedly that they are for taking away our rights. They are for taking away the right.
Who are you talking about right now?
Okay, so the Supreme Court thing I just mentioned with the conservative appointed judges, who it voted down partisan lines, like they were the ones that have voted against expulsion, like literally that. They're the ones that voted for the 100-mile border zone. They're the ones that voted on the exculpatory evidence, not meaning you're innocent. That's on the legal rights of everybody's side. You have Mitch McConnell, who literally his idea of what bribery is literally comes down to someone coming to you as a politician saying, "This is a bribe. I want you to do this." And handing you physical money, and he says that is the only thing that can be considered a bribe, not a campaign donation. Mitch McConnell is without any doubt, like one of the most insidious human beings in Congress among many. Another example. I know you don't give a flying fuck about gay people, abortion rights, or women's rights, or any of that shit, but just bear with me because it is actually important, because it's like unless like we are all free, none of us are, all that shit. You know what I mean?
Miss me with that, bro. Miss me with that.
They passed. You know I'm right.
They passed the Asian hate bill. Then they went and passed the LGBTQ bill. They can't even pass an anti-black bill as the police are out here murdering us en masse. Miss me with that shit, bro. Honestly, and all honesty, miss me with that. But Joe Biden has done nothing for the community that put him in fucking office. Black people putting him in fucking office, and he told them niggas from the jump he wasn't going to do shit for them, and he told them. So miss me with that. It's not I don't hate gay people. I don't not give a fuck about gay people or not give a fuck about abortion.
So you're saying that listen, don't get me wrong. I'm all with you there that there hasn't been enough done for the black community. But to me, that's still not a justification to let other people have their rights be trampled on too. Like the fuck, man.
Hold up. Well, no, you're misinterpreting what I'm saying.
No, listen. You need to tell, because that's what I'm fucking hearing.
Let me talk, because you're not letting me talk. You're not letting
me
talk.
Go ahead.
What I'm saying is, I say this shit to black people. If you're going to keep going and vote for a party that smacks you in your face, to quote the Joker, you get what you fucking deserve.
But it's not the fucking Democrats that are voting, that are putting bills into office that are painting gay people as fucking groomers and shit. They're not the ones that are literally putting bills in office, getting ready for the fucking Roe v. Wade overturning to get rid of a woman's right to choose. They're not the one. Like, it's not the Democrats doing that shit. It's not the Democrats actively putting forward bills to take away rights from Americans. Now, valid point. Hasn't done.
Yes, they have been, but okay.
Dude, right the fuck now. Yes, historically, Democrats bad. Democrats were originally the predominant party in the South. I know my fucking history. I'm not even
going back to that. I'm going back to the crime bill that Joe Biden still touts.
Yes, because liberalism at the time, the conventional wisdom was tough on crime, good. We have hindsight now showing and studies that have been done showing that was wrong. So miss me with that bad faith argument.
They're still doubling down on it. They are still doubling down on it. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because what I'm trying to say is what do you mean?
No. I need an example. Like, what have they done recently to show as an example of doubling down? like
of doubling down
on like shit like the crime bill and all that shit.
Bro, all nigga, have you not been paying all like first things first? You give more funding to the Capitol Police in your own where you guys are at that failed, like your whole narrative about January 6th, they failed on I would say on a level as the Uvalde police in that case, minus the murder of the kids and everything, but they utterly failed.
The other part of it,
and your solution is to give them more money. Your solution is to give them more money. Looking at how the Democratic Party always and not
so
just
you talk
nationally.
So the Capitol Police. Okay, so you're talking about the Capitol Police who were not or who were, from my knowledge, understaffed on the day of January 6th, and their higher ups didn't give them things like tear gas and shit like that. I'm genuinely surprised that there wasn't when after how the Black Lives Matter protests and shit went. It's like the stairs outside the Capitol weren't a broth with tear gas, which baffles me. But regardless,
yeah.
But regardless, the point I will that like okay, cool. They're giving more funding to the there's a fucking bug. They're giving more funding to the Capitol Police that were ineffective when they at protecting them and shit. Whatever, fine. But like I'm talking about an actual something that actually is a tough on crime thing on if maybe not even on the federal level. Show me where like liberal or left wing Democrats somewhere in the country are actively voting for fucking tough on crime policy. Because that was I don't know if that was a statement you made because that was the statement I heard.
That they're enacting tough on crime. I'm saying their rhetoric, though they're actually doing nothing in Democrat ran cities where they're not reining in the police. The only city I've actually heard of them doing like things like and I'm not a defund the police person, but what I'm saying,
I'm a believer in consent-based policing, which literally the only way to do that is to literally take a police department, fire everybody, and hire a bunch of new people with that don't have warrior cop training.
Sure. But overall, bro, the point that I am making is that they're not serving any of these communities and these people that you were talking about. That is the point that I'm making. They are failing on every fucking level. And in essence, essentially, they are giving all the power back. And this is, if you pay attention to politics, this is what they do. Democrats either build the railing for Republicans to do the fuck shit that they do, or they just lay down and not do anything.
Yeah. No, definitely.
That's historic. But I think that is by design because we live in a duopoly. Both of the parties work together. That is what I'm saying. They both believe the same shit.
Yeah.
If you take the Democratic Party and put it to Europe and put it in Europe and any
European right-wing party,
let's say the UK, they would be further right than fucking Boris Johnson's party, the fucking Tories.
Right. And
that is what I'm saying.
And the UK had and Thatcher was literally like a more conservative version of Reagan, and Reagan was the goddamn devil.
Yeah, but honestly, the overall point that I'm making is that, the problems we have aren't going to come from voting Democrat. And I'm a proponent for voting third party. If there's a viable third party out there by the time 2024 comes around, I'm voting third party. I'm never voting for a Democrat again. It's not happening. Not happening. And majority of the country feels that way. Majority of the country feels that way. And that's the fact of the matter.
What about left wing candidates running as Democrats?
You said what?
What about left wing candidates that have that whose policies are good or at the very least?
We've tried that with the Justice Democrats. We've tried that.
Yeah, and we put a bunch of spineless lefties who go along to get along. We don't have any fucking fighters. The only fighter we have is Bernie. But the problem is that he's been portrayed to the point of being some kooky, weird, Jewish man from Vermont that it's terrible.
No, it's not. The reason why people aren't fucking with Bernie right now is because Bernie sounds like a fucking Democrat. He goes along with everything the Democrats do. That's why. That is why.
I honest to God don't know why Bernie. Sorry.
But the reason why Trump won is because Trump wasn't sounding like fucking Republicans, run-of-the-mill fucking Republicans. That is why Trump won. If Bernie were to adopt Trump, minor Trump, like some Trump-isms, we would see different things playing out. But at the end of the day,
he only needs to be a little bit of a dickhead. That's it. But the other problem is that
he needs to be like Mélenchon in France right now. Mélenchon in France right now. So he's part of the left wing. He's the actual left party in France. So you have Macron, who's the neoliberal candidate. You have Le Pen, who was basically the far right candidate, and you had Mélenchon.
Did you see on Macron? Did you see that bitch ass like photo shoot he did after where he was talking about how?
Let's not go there because we're gonna argue. Let's not go there because I'm gonna say things. Because I'm doing a segment about it tomorrow. Let's not go there because we're
all right. Fair enough. All right. Fair
if we get into foreign policy, we're gonna be here all night.
Thank you for bringing me back. I appreciate it because for those who are watching,
but I did see it. It was hilarious. It was hilarious. No, he literally gave him the Biden treatment. It was hilarious, bro.
But no, for everybody watching who's a fan of Bendu, me and who've watched any of our conversations before, me and Bendu have very, very different foreign policy takes, like completely opposite. So that's probably going to be something reserved for talk.
I would rather us, because I want us to have that conversation, but I would want us to have I would actually bring somebody on here I would bring somebody on here to mediate us. Yeah, exactly. Because I want us to have that dialogue.
Dead ass.
That dialogue needs to be had, bro.
Because every time we have that conversation about foreign policy, I get a really bad headache and we just start screaming at each other.
Yeah,
and I got don't get me wrong, I got a bad headache right now. I need a bottle of water. Where the fuck is the ibuprofen when you need it? Regardless. Oh fuck, man. But, you play Elden Ring? You ever give Elden Ring a shot?
Nah. Let's get into this Boebert shit. Let's get into the kind of
Well, what the fuck I'm even here? What the fuck I'm here for?
Dude. So I'm all right. So I'm leaning back. You already know my conspiratorial brain is looking at things. But I'm listen. If
Madison Cawthorn was telling the truth about those orgies, I'm thinking, who the fuck is
Mitch McConnell doing a fucking bump off of fucking Nancy Pelosi's ass cheek?
No. I'm thinking a part of me is thinking there's not enough women Republicans in the Republican Party for them to have a whole orgy and shit. But then I hear Lauren Boebert used to be an escort, and I'm like, oh, she's got the training. Okay, I understand that.
Now, no, I do want to say, I'm gonna read this. Do you want me to share it so you can see it too? I don't want to just read it. If you want to see,
you're good. You're good. But I do want to say for the record,
hang on, wait before you go. I'm saying for the sake of my channel, so this hit pull it down for reporting disinformation. They'll do it for Republicans too. It says Representative Lauren Boebert plans to sue a PAC for defamation after it made a series of wild claims about her without evidence, assertions that quickly spread online. So she's saying that this stuff isn't true. She's going to take them to court and to the fullest extent of the law. So that is what she's saying. And I'm going to leave it at that. But let's say if this shit is true, right? It's I don't care on this level. I'm just going to get out of there. I don't care on that level, but on a funny level, it takes me back to when the porn star Brandy Love wasn't allowed into the Republican convention. And it's I
forgot about that shit.
Bro, could you fucking imagine? Look, just think about this. Imagine.
Bro, she's the most popular person there by leagues and a mile.
But wait. Imagine a Republican Party that welcomes sex workers. They're open to sex work. Hypothetically, imagine. Let's go to this hypothetical world where they go back to their radical roots from where they were formed. They start saying these issues, on Black Lives, just saying it on Black Lives Matter, on gay issues, and they get over the sex worker thing. What would that rhetoric look like? Let's just say tomorrow they walk out and completely change rhetoric on all this stuff. What would it look like coming out of the mouth of Mitch McConnell? Basically saying that type of stuff. I'm just like, yo,
I
that would be
want
so
to.
fucking hilarious.
I speak for the Republican delegation that the Republican Party is supportive of sex workers.
And the only reason I'm like not talking slow as fuck like a turtle or some shit is just because we'd be here for an hour and I don't want to do that. But the point is, I do want to say for the record, just for everybody watching, my personal belief is I am pro-choice, and I am pro-sex work. So, like, I'm not. So when I'm if I make fun of Lauren Boebert, I am not doing it in the sense I'm not doing it. I'm doing it because she's a hypocrite, and I'm doing it because she's a conservative. Because I got to stick to my principles, even
But
if
I'll say I'm pro-choice, which I don't know why there's people that think I'm not pro-choice, and I'm like, meh, I don't know on sex work. I'm not into the sex work, like the sex work glorification I see on the left. I'm really not into it.
I mean, I'm not even like pro glorification of it. I just see it as a profession. I'm like, you good at this job and you like doing it? Cool beans. You got an OF that's popping. Cool.
Let's talk to women to see if they actually like doing that. I don't think they like doing that. I think most women don't like doing it.
Oh, most women probably don't, but I have talked to women that do, and it's like, and it is in frankly, I think that do you like? I've had conversations with my girlfriend, and like I've had the possibility of something like that, and she doesn't want to do it because she doesn't want photos of her. She's not comfortable with photos of her being on the internet in perpetuity. Sure. I respect, like that's respect, like, and this is granted during this conversation. I told her that if you decided to do this, I would be 100% supportive because capitalism sucks and we're all getting raw dogged out here. And sometimes the only way to deal with the raw dogging of capitalism is to actually get, dogged for real.
But that's why I look at like the not even countries, but the the socialist and Marxist ideology completely preaches against that sex work in its essence. I'm not saying there weren't socialists who didn't socialists. I sound like Medea. Socialists who didn't support sex workers, but what I'm saying is like the ideology itself of socialism, and socialism is a product of Marxism. Like it's diametrically opposed to that ideologically. So
well, I mean, how so? I mean, because it's like if you're a man or a woman and we're living in a utopia of just like everybody does whatever the fuck they want to contribute to society as they feel like it, and are there going to be certain jobs in that system that don't exist anymore because it's too dangerous or nobody wants to do it? Sure, but that's just how it will be. And so what ends up happening is is prostitution going to be a thing? Depends. I know a lot of people who really fucking like sex. Like a lot, like a problematic amount, but should those people be prevented from, doing a profession like that if that's their choice? Because that's the thing for me. Like, is there a level of capitalistic coercion when it comes to the porn industry? 1,000%. Which is part of the reason why I say if you want to consume pornography, one of the best ways to do it is to watch verified people, verified amateurs on the hub. You purchase OnlyFans content. These are ways to consume content in a much more ethical way than if you take Mia Khalifa's story for example, legit.
I don't believe her.
But fine. But a big porno company taking advantage of a young woman who with emotional issues and shit, and basically holding like dominion over putting all that shit out, and that's that. Like, and she has no, and like she got paid what? Like she got paid a nominal amount for the filming, and then they keep the IP rights. Like, to me, that sounds like What the Fuck Happened to All Gas No Brakes was just a porno twist. Like, you can believe her or not, but like the essence of her story, I think, is true for most people in the traditional industry. So it's like, you know, it's like ethical consumption. It's like, if you're an environmentalist, if you want to buy like food, like vegetables or some shit, do you go to the fucking Acme and like buy them for off the plastic bag shit off the shelf? No, you spend $3 more and go over to the farmer's market and buy your apples for $6.
Everybody can't do that. That's the thing.
Right.
Everybody can't do
which
that.
is is like,
I would say most people can't do that.
Exactly. I make a fucking real living, and I can barely fucking do that shit. So, but the point is that, like, you know, but back to bring it back to home circle here. For me, it's, you know, for me, socialism and communism as a system has always been people contributing to society in the ways that they want, as they want. And to me, like, I think it's against a system that is that free to prevent people from, you know, doing something that they love, even if you personally find it morally reprehensible. Like, as long as it's not affecting another person in a negative way, like, what right do you have to say that it has no place in the society? Like, in a society like that, the jobs that exist are only going to be the jobs that people are willing to do. Like, we're probably not going to have crab in that kind of society, because it is one of the most, if not the most, dangerous jobs that in relation to the water. It's not going to exist. Like, it's like people will we'll live in a society where we don't have fresh picked crab. You know, I as a Marylander will be very depressed, but that's that. You know,
but there's a difference between a person who goes out crabbing and a chick who sits on OnlyFans all day clapping her ass. That's a vast difference, is what I'm saying.
I mean, the question, OnlyFans exists in the crab fishing. This exists in a capitalistic society. If we're talking about a socialist society or something like that, if somebody wants to just do it because they want to, like, all their needs are met, they don't got to pay rent, they don't got to eat, they can do whatever they want. They just are contributing the way they want to. If they want to take pictures of their ass and post it on the internet, who gives a fuck? Now, in a capitalistic society, like, on some level is like, I'm kind of gotten past like that, the archaic notion of work. Different types of work are more meritorious than others. What matters to me is, do you know what the fuck you're doing? Are you good enough at it that you are able to pay your bills doing it? And 3, are you not completely miserable? And for this capitalistic system we're in, like, don't get me wrong, I get the feeling of saying, like, oh, this plumber, this police officer, this firefighter, they contribute more to society than this chick or this dude, like, doing porno shit on the internet. I completely understand where that's coming from, but I feel like that to devalue how someone is able to pay for the shit that they need to live their life is counterproductive, in the sense of, like, if we just remove, like, the moral, like, what kind of society we want to live in. Like, the fact of the matter is that we want people to be able to do what, like, this system we live in sucks, and I want people to be able to live in this society in the way that they can, with the skills and assets that they have at their disposal. If a big old dude is a lumberjack and his biggest asset is his muscles and his knowledge of the forest and his ability to cut shit, that is it. If you've got like a twink who's able to his whole shtick is being able to fit a 6-inch glass dildo in his asshole and be able to make $30 off of sending a 10-second gif of that happening, so be it. Because at the end of the day, how you are able to cope with how capitalism is fucking you on a day-to-day basis, I don't judge.
And I feel that
it's why I don't judge people like doing like paying their bills by selling weed, taking some shit they copped out at the store and selling on the street. Like how you have to fucking like live and how you have to fucking pay your bills. I'm not someone to judge, because at the end of the day, that's just classism towards the people in the same class as you.
Actually, it's not. And let me make this point. Let me go through this real quick. It's gonna take me a couple minutes to explain it, but I've actually been having a debate with a homie. I was actually supposed to do a black. I was gonna call it a blackout panel, which now thinking about it, I probably should change that name. But like a bunch of my homies coming on and shit, and we were gonna talk about.
Quick question: why would you want to change that name? I don't see anything wrong with it.
I mean,
unless there's something geopolitically I don't know.
No, it just sucks. It sucks. I could do better. That's what I'm saying. I could do better. Right. But we were going to be discussing, this concept. One of my homies, he's not necessarily, he's not on the same train of thought I am. I'm not saying that's a bad. Well, I'm not saying I'm like mad at him for not agreeing with me. But what I'm saying is like his solutions for, trying to address and fix the issues of the black community to me is the same thing black people have been doing forever, and which is, for me. Like, for example, and what triggered me thinking about this was you bringing up, the drug dealer aspect. For me, in order for the black community, in my opinion, and I've said this, like to actually truly, we need to truly progress. Like, and this is some of talking points. It sounds like Candace Owens, and this is where I kind of agree with her on certain things. Is that we need to become collective again, as we were. And we need to start weeding out and getting rid of the toxic, corrosive elements within the culture that is holding us back. I feel drug dealing is one of those things. And when I look at that, the Black Panthers were starkly against that shit. And one of the things that they did was they went hard on drug dealers in their communities. They ran them out to the point.
Well, they were also huge on mutual aid too.
Yeah, they were. But hang on. But that they literally drove the drug dealers out of the communities, and it was the drug dealers that started colluding with the police to take them down. So my concept, my thing of that is, and this isn't me saying like I'm like an anti-drug warrior or anything like that or shit like that, but these drugs were peddled into our communities, and it has destroyed our communities. You can make the argument as a a liberal or a leftist, whatever you want to call yourself, saying people need to be free to do whatever the drug they want, but the reality of most Americans in America is that drugs have destroyed their fucking communities.
I'm not disagreeing. Fentanyl, now white people give a shit because it's destroying fentanyl is destroying white communities too. Yeah,
but
I don't disagree at all.
Yeah, but the overall point that I'm making is that, and this is why I can't get down with a lot of the progressive movement and a lot of the leftist movement, is that we always put ourselves diametrically opposed to the people and how the people actually feel. The mass amounts of people, the real everyday American working class, we put ourselves against them and align ourselves with liberals. And to my homie's point, he was saying we need to get more celebrities speaking about our issues, like Jay-Z, Kanye. We've had them doing this all along. They are black capitalists. That's what they are. They are elitist. We don't need them.
They're not going to link hands with you. They're going to link hands with the rest of the bourgeoisie.
Exactly. But overall,
they liberal or Republican, rich assholes always link arms with other rich assholes. Even
rich assholes going to rich asshole.
Yeah, basically. But it's like, here's my thing. I've said this a couple of times. When it comes to like black issues and race issues and stuff in America, I think it's an equation that anybody can piece together and figure the fuck out. In terms of like The institutions and shit in this country done people wrong. All that. And I say all this to preface this because I am about to speak on some things that I feel could, which you will agree with, of course, like on like things to help the Black community and stuff. And I have to preface it like that because I look like a cop.
Yeah, you don't post content on OnlyFans. You post content on OnlyFeds.
Literally, bro. I literally, like, for my weed and shit, I literally have to have my buddy bring it to me because like everybody, shit
Wait, you
shuts
smoke?
the fuck down. I mean,
I
not
thought you said
really.
you didn't smoke.
I mean, I don't. Like, I'll take a puff pass like 2 or 3 times, and then I'll just like wave it off after that. Like, no bong rips, none of that. I got a bowl for my I keep like a stash in a bowl and a bong here for friends and stuff, along with my liquor stuff. And like, dude, I have enough. I make enough cash that I can like keep a small like liquor counter, a small amount of like stuff, and give it away to guests and say have as much as you want. Just
I make below a living wage in Delaware, so I can't be as fancy as you, sir.
Well, my thing is that like I found that friends of mine are more willing to come over if I give them free liquor and drugs.
That's not toxic at all. I'm joking.
No, I mean, am I wrong? Like I literally I love Amani to death. Me and him been talking back and forth a bunch, and then I said, "Oh yeah, I got this," and I mentioned that to him. He's like, "What you doing today?" He ain't never want to come up to my apartment before. I love it, but regardless, because me and him go on TikTok lives all the time. But like for me, it's like I like to think about like what Killer Mike said, which was like reinvest, when reinvestment in the community. It's like don't sell your mom's house, like things like that. Like, but we're at a point where like I think Juneteenth's right around the corner. Like I live in like there's only like one Black business in the entirety of my neighborhood, and it's ironically like the dopest, coolest fucking place on the planet. It's like the cigar lounge, and it's like it's like one of the things I realized after listening to Killer Mike and like doing a lot of research on my own, I realized that there's just not a lot of Black owned businesses around me. Like there's like that, and there's like the male.
Yeah, they destroyed a lot of them with the COVID policies, but
well, and honest to God, I think that was just like the death nail in small business as on a broad level. But that's a whole other conversation. For me, it's just I think I like it's honestly just I think over time a lot of like the Black community has taken like some of the most toxic elements of the white community, of which is just your family. Don't really know your neighbors as much. Like it's about like community building and shit like that. Not to say like, and obviously I'm not touching on any of the systemic issues or any of the shit like that, which all feed into it. But for me, I don't know. It's like, I almost kind of want to be a villain. I kind of want to like people to like look at me. I'm the fucking enemy. Like not me exactly, but like dudes in suits that look like me. Like keep money in your community and shit. Like every you know what I do like on a hot summer day when my girlfriend's driving and I see a fucking like bunch of kids with like a fucking like a case of water. Like they say, oh, it's like $2 for a bottle of water. I'll hand them a 20 and say keep the change. Like it's because those kids have an entrepreneurial spirit, and while I don't think you should have a entrepreneurial spirit to be able to survive in this world, the fact of the matter is that those kids are building the tools able to survive in the world we live in right now.
Yeah,
and so fostering that I think is important. And at the end of the day, it's like it's just rough. It's
worse. It's about to get worse.
It's gonna get a whole lot worse. Oh man! But
on that note, I guess we'll go ahead and close out, man.
Yeah, dude, we've been going for an hour and 12 minutes. Yeah,
but I'm gonna try and get somebody in here to mediate, because like I said, I think it's important for us to have those conversations, to have
So actually, let me get someone. So I got my buddy Tyler is unbelievably politically savvy, And while he's certainly, me and him are lockstep with our personal beliefs, he has the ability to shut the fuck up and lock it and like be impartial and letting people talk. He's very, very, very good at that. So I think he might be a good fit for that.
All right, man. We'll talk. But guys, my guy Evan from HiMedia pulled up. You know, we don't agree on everything like he said, but again, dialogue needs to happen. And you know, I fuck with this. My guy. It's one of my friends, man. Fuck with this guy. Love this guy.
So again, my name is my name's Evan from HiMedia. Evan from HiMedia, because people keep calling me Hi or Media in my chat, and that shit like is kind of like I try to say it and it comes out the tongue weird. But I am on YouTube as HiMedia TV. I'm HiMedia TV on Twitch. I'm live Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I have a Discord channel. Probably should join his at the same time while you're at it. And
dude, I've been so lazy on my Discord, dog. I haven't done shit.
I know, dude. I had to make a new Twitter.
Oh, why?
Because I told Ted Cruz next time he's in Cancun, I hope he gets stuck up.
Did you see his bitch ass running away from the press?
So
he's to the shoot and stuff.
He's such a little piss baby. Marco Rubio had more balls than him, and he went on.
That nigga has the audacity to sit here and like they do the little dance too. So he was trying to like not criticize Elon because Elon basically came out and said Tesla's going to be doing a program where we shuttle people to females to go get abortions and shit like that. You know, if this thing happens, and it's like he's like towing the line and shit like that. He was like, these CEOs are part of the communist Marxist agenda to take over. I'm like, dude, are you serious right now?
Didn't fucking Elon say like 2 weeks ago he's gonna register as a Republican or some shit?
Yeah, and look, a lot of people are feeling that way in America. Not just Elon Musk. A lot of people are feeling that way. So
I personally believe that. I personally think that's an overestimation on your part. But like I said, that's not worth like a reaction. Like at least right now on the tail end. Make sure if you hey, listen, cocksucker, if you're watching this shit and you're not fucking following his Twitch channel, do it right now. If you're watching the VOD and you're not subscribed to him right now, somehow making it to the end of an hour and 12-minute video, go subscribe to American Autopsy. I'm working on an app, I guess that'll be out whenever the fuck I get around to finishing that tutorial, because it's been a hot minute since I coded in Angular. Yeah, that's about it. Sorry. Wait, make sure you donate to his Patreon so we can get him a real fucking camera.
I have a good camera. My camera's good.
Bro, you're grainy like every 5 seconds. The fuck you mean?
It might be my signal. That's what I'm saying. It might be my signal.
Yeah. Honest to God, this one I got here is like you can plug it into your computer and has a webcam mode. I don't know. It may not be as crisp as yours when yours is being like used, but it's crisp and consistent, and I like it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But
I love you,
thanks,
man. We'll talk later.
All right,
go
dude.
on. Peace.
Peace. All right, guys. So that was my homie Evan from HiMedia. Pulled up. Great conversations, you know. But yeah. So anybody want to say anything to your boy before I'll go ahead and hop off? Any interesting comment? So Murph, yeah, man. Like I see, my thing is, so when it comes to the RBN comment you made, like, dude, why aren't you in the RBN? My thing is, I fuck with RBN. I fuck with the work they're doing. I fuck with what Rome is doing, especially. I fuck with Afeni, all of them. I fuck with what all of them are doing. But I'm trying to do my own thing, bro. I'm doing my own thing. You feel me? I like doing shit my way, and that's just me. I would like to collab with them at some point. Like, I would definitely like to have Sabby on the show at some time. Definitely Nick, bro. Nick, I feel like I'm trying to chop it up with Nick, bro. I fuck with Nick heavy, dog. Definitely Rome. Rome is fucking amazing, dude. Right now, I'm a little tight, you know, on cash and everything, so I can't really donate to his causes right now. But, you know, when I try and get money here and there, extra money, I'm gonna try and donate and everything. But what he's doing is fucking amazing. I would love to have him come on, you know, Talk, you know, to talk about what he's doing and his work he's doing. I love Revolutionary Blackout Network, man. They're amazing. And it's like, I like the fact that, there's some things we disagree on. I disagree on some things with them, but and some of the hot topic issues that popped up and everything. But yeah, I fuck with what they're doing for for the overwhelmingly most part. Like, I think what they're doing is very important. But yeah, man, you guys know I'm a big proponent of, there's a lot of YouTubers I fuck with. Like, I know I fuck with Caleb Maupin heavy. I showcase his content on here, react to it, talk about it and everything. Hopefully, like I said, I'm trying to get him on the show soon. Hopefully we can get him on the show soon. But yeah, man, like, I don't know. Like, I like doing my own thing. You feel me? Like, this, like, American Autopsy was like me, like, honestly just shooting the shit on how I feel politically, because people around me get tired of hearing me talk about politics. So I need to do it more, because I'll be like talking politics with like people, and I know sometimes they be getting annoyed by it. But yeah, this is so I like doing my own thing. That's basically what I'm saying. And I'm doing my own network, trying to build it up and everything. So, but like I said, I fuck with RBN. They're fire. The Revolutionary Blackout Network. I love those guys. They're fire. Hopefully I'll reach out to some of them soon to try and get them on the show. Like I said, I love Savvy's show. I love JB Font's show. I love all of those guys. Compton J. Yeah. I was even watching what is her name? Meg. I think it's like Killjoy Meg or something like that. She was doing like a pop culture show talking about like movies and TV and shit like that. They actually have Franco on. Franco's been on the show. I already know Franco. I might try and get Franco on again soon. I might try and get him on soon again. But they had like a conversation about like Batman being a cop or something that was fucking amazing, and I checked out a couple of their other episodes. So, but yeah, man, good stuff. They do good stuff. But we are going on 3 hours. This is a 3-hour stream. I think it was a good stream. I think that like obviously free Assange. At the top of it, I covered Assange. That Venezuela story was fascinating as well, and the conversations we had with Evan was fire too. So definitely good stuff, good times. But I'm gonna go ahead and end the podcast here, guys. Bid you adieu. Your boy's kind of hungry. I'm ready to go lay down a little bit. As soon as I got home from work, started prepping for the show, putting the finishing touches on the articles. I know I started a little bit late. I was supposed to start at 7:30. Going to try to get better at starting on time, guys. Apologies for that. But yeah, man. To everybody that tuned in, commented, Murph on Twitch, thank you for your comments, bro. You're fire. Love you guys. I love you when you guys interact with me, man. I like talking to you guys. And like I said, like, if y'all ever want to come on, I'll drop the link so people could come on. That's something I've been thinking about doing too, just dropping a link and bringing people on to have conversations. So if you would like to come on, I might do a stream tomorrow. I don't know. I'm like, because I want to do some work for my other channels tomorrow. So I don't know if I might do a stream tomorrow. Actually, no, I'm gonna do a stream tomorrow. I'm gonna do a stream tomorrow. So if you guys want to hop in, talk, maybe I'll make time for that tomorrow. But definitely I'll go to Twitch, subscribe to your boy on Twitch, subscribe to me on YouTube if you haven't yet. Go follow me on Instagram. On Instagram, it's __Topsy. Just type in American Autopsy, it'll pop up. Follow me on Twitter, American Autopsy. Definitely go to the Patreon if you can. It will be greatly appreciated. To make it a contribution. Everything up there is free. I don't believe in putting things behind a paywall. Have some fascinating videos on there. Like, I've been actually getting back to, I know I've been saying I'm going to work on some writing pieces. I'm actually almost done one of my pieces. So I'm going to be putting that content up there as well. Yeah, but like I said, if you can, contribute, you can also, I should have like a little bar at the bottom to say all this, but if you can make a donation on Cash App as well, a contribution on Cash App as well, that would be greatly appreciated. The Cash App signal is in the description as well. All of that information is down there as well. So, if you can, contribution would be greatly appreciated to help keep the show afloat, keep it going. And yeah, I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace.